Sauce.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday, the 26th of March, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Join me today, Zachary Burgess.
New season.
And Robert Gebb.
We vibing.
Yes.
Yeah, we're vibing to the new soundtracks.
We're vibing like it's the early 2000s.
Which, this time we have actually heard before recording this podcast for a change.
Yeah, I gave you a sneak preview this time. I was actually a week ahead in my prep. You
normally do have it done in before the podcast. We just don't normally listen to it before we get to the podcast for some reason.
That's true. I like to surprise you.
That's true.
This one's a banger. What was the inspiration?
We know, but let's have Rob explain it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like old.
Why not?
Yeah, it's just that sort of old Sega vibe, I suppose, from the early 2000s, right? Like it's like specifically going for Sega Rally 2's intro,
Yes.
with a bit of Sega Rally 1. Actually, the sort of like first little riffy bit is more Sega Rally 1, but then it sort of morphs into 2.
There's something about it that made me think of like early 90s Manchester Hacienda Classic type.
Yeah, well, I had repeated conversations with Zach, like in the making of this thing, about how hard it was actually to find like I had to go out of my way to try and find that old house keys sound.
Yeah,
because it's a very specific instrument that normally does that, and
it is, yeah.
But I think there is like a specific instrument that everyone used to use for that sound, but like. Obviously, that would cost money to require, so it's like I need to find a facsimile.
Yeah.
I think I ended up using something called micro keys. I think that ended up sounding pretty good, with a bit of effects work and EQing on it and all that jazz. But yeah, anyway, that was the fun of it. Actually, getting that synth right. That there's a sort of like warbly lead synth in the back half of it. That's like. Yeah, I didn't quite get that quite as Sega Rally 2 sounding as I would have liked, but like I spent ages on a first pass of it and then didn't really like how it was sounding. So I thought, okay, I'll layer it up with something else, and that layer ended up being way better than the first one I spent like hours trying to get right. And then it's like, okay, accidentally fell into it. That's okay. Anyway, music production is like that a lot. You spend hours doing something that ends up not working, and then you'll come up with something that does in like an instant. It's really frustrating.
In 5 minutes.
Yeah. And this whole project came together pretty quick. Like the drum beat was like took me ages, but the rest of it was pretty quick.
So weird, isn't it, when you hear people? I'm just made me think of seeing rock stars that interviewed and stuff. Some of them, like I don't know, like the Rolling Stones or something, and it's like they wrote that song in 5 minutes and they've been playing it, for 70 years or something. And it's like you can't just sit down and do that. I mean, some of them can, but only under weird circumstances. And everyone wants to know how they did it, and it's like I don't know,
drugs. Yeah, drugs, especially the Rolling Stones
yeah,
case.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like I like that story about Sweet Child of Mine, where Slash was just trying to invent. He was just doing an exercise to, to be faster at the guitar, and that's.
Oh, I see. Right.
So and Axl Rose overheard it and was like, "That's a good riff," and he was like, "No, I was just trying to." Because the thing about that, if you try and play it, is it skips a string, goes do 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 do, and that's annoying to do. Normally, you go up and down a string as you're doing a riff or a solo. And so he was doing it in order as a practice drill, basically. And then when that became the riff, it was like, fuck, that's really annoying to play.
Now I have to play this forever.
Yeah, exactly.
I was actually watching a thing on was it BBC did a Stones a series on the Stones, I think,
on the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, I was watching the one that focused on Ronnie. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of drugs.
I know, but like, imagine if drugs caused that kind of creativity. Imagine the amount of all you'd have to do is take drugs. It'd be easy. Yeah. Like, not everyone can take drugs and come up with amazing songs that won't get played on the radio for 50 years. It must be something else combined with the drugs to make that happen.
or maybe it's just a lot of drugs. Maybe you have to get to a certain level of drugs that only people with the money to do that can afford.
because that was the thing with that's in the Ronnie Wood, I think, biography, which is like he was lucky because he became rich enough that he could buy good quality drugs, and that's why he didn't die. Yeah. Anyone else who took that amount of drugs,
I mean, maybe that's the secret to like maybe like the creativity of these different artists was almost geographical based on like what their dealer was cutting with at the time.
Right, yeah. It was mostly baking powder then.
Maybe that's why genres change over the years. It's just like what shit is the dealer cutting with this year?
Well, maybe. I mean, but how is AI going to factor into this? People could be getting high and playing off generated art or whatever to remix it.
How can we program drugs to feed the AI?
I mean, it's the training data is a bunch of art created by humans, probably on drugs. So,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I haven't checked in with like what AI gen music is like of late. Like I know I know they've been messing with it for a while, and it's like I think it was quite bad.
Yeah,
yeah. Why is that one hard then compared to like images and stuff?
Yeah, and images were pretty hard, right? Compared to like they've got voices right first.
That's true.
Deep faking voices and all that stuff. Deep fake, I suppose, is an AI generated helpful thing, and somehow that came before the whole image craze. I guess that's because that's highly specifically trained, whereas the image generation isn't. That's broad training.
But I guess you train on, on good quality data of just one person's talking with no background noise or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas
so
like music is such a combination of different.
Yeah, but I wonder if it would work, and I imagine there must be people trying it, right? To just be like, here's every bit of music ever made. Throw that into with metadata. Here, go.
I mean,
and if so, you could do the same sort of prompt, right? It's like, here, write me a song in the style of Oasis or something. Or
yeah, I mean, surely it can't be that hard to generate music, lift music or something.
Are you insulting music composers?
Just like that can't be that hard a problem. Like it all sounds like shit. You just feed it tons of that, and then how would you tell the difference?
Well, yeah,
that's going to be easy, right?
It would come out right the same. Yeah.
Yeah, terrible. But how could you tell between human-generated music and AI-generated music?
Get your Celestes and marimbas out. That's all you need.
Yeah, exactly.
And a rhythm guitar going.
Exactly.
That song specifically, I've been hearing that quite often recently.
Really?
Thanks to that goddamn cat.
That goddamn cat.
There's a stupid meme that went around it was probably last year actually at this point, but like the low poly cat that the people have just ported into random games now. Like I've seen it in like Source Engine games, and I think just recently I saw one from GTA 5 where it's like, it's the low poly cat, he's back, and it just plays that song.
Okay.
That's just the theme.
Yeah, that's just the theme of that cat.
All right.
You can get it in Minecraft as well.
Well, that makes sense, I guess.
Well,
like, is it actually higher poly?
Yeah, it's higher poly than Minecraft, mostly.
The most detailed thing in the game. High poly cat. Yeah, I wonder. I've not looked into that. I know, was it a year or two ago? I think there was an AI project came out. I want to say it was called I forgot now, tone something, where you could sing to it and it would or make noise or feed it sound, and it would basically turn it into the instrument of your choosing, with mixed results, I have to admit. But you could say, hey, make this sound like it was played with a trumpet.
Tune?
Yeah, and it would try and say, this is what a trumpet would do, and it's not wholly accurate, but it was fun. It was interesting.
Yeah.
But I think that the idea of that project is you could sing into a mic and be like, "Well, I want it to sound like this," and then it would go, "Yeah, all right. Well, here's what a clarinet would make of it."
Mm-hmm.
So you could, which sounds kind of cool, actually. Like, you could be like, oh, I've got this idea in my head. Let me just sing it out. And then be like, but yeah, no, I think it would sound good in this instrument. And it goes, yeah, where you go then? And it's like, cool, I'll have that. I'll use that sample.
So you could like input all the tracks of Smooth Groove and turn it into an actual orchestra.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Turn it back into the original song.
Yeah.
that would be really funny. Yeah. Can you have every line of this lead done with an orch hit, please? And now I've got the stuff.
Are orch hits still around? Yeah. Are they still used? Who invented that? A synthesizer person or the orch hit? Or
no, I think it'll be a sampler. Like someone must have just taken like a single note from an orchestra and just put it into their sampler, and then of course because it doesn't, just plays it back at a different speed. There you go. The orch hit was born.
Yeah. Could you get an orchestra to do an orch hit? It's like a one beat of all the same note.
I bet you could, yeah.
Bang. Yeah, that'd be
probably like. I want to know where that sort of like that classic one came from. Like, it must have been sampled off something, some recording on cassette of an orchestra or something. Just going bang at some point in the middle of a tune. Like, could be anywhere.
Definitely heard that 808 cowbell in a weird place recently, but I can't remember what it was. Yeah.
Oh no! Do you mean the sort of pongy one? The sort of pong?
Yeah, the pongy one. Yeah.
I mean, that's classic. That's everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Like the 999 hat. That's everywhere. The classic dance hat.
Yep.
Classic instruments. Hey, we're on season 14.
Season 14 of the Saladcast.
It's been 13 whole years.
Yeah, it's a lot of years.
We're
not much to change.
No, wait, we were teenagers last year. We were salad teenagers. There were. Oh no, wait, no.
Technically,
we would have been 0 year. So yeah, now we're salad teenagers.
We're just trying to prolong our salad years.
Salad teens. I don't know what that means. Are we going to get even more angsty and like negative about our reviews?
I think that's been happening before this current year.
It's gradual. Maybe. I bet if we go back, we can find some unenthused reviews.
Maybe.
Is it really going to just be like, so I've been playing this. It's a game. Yep.
I mean, I think we've done that before on this podcast.
It is definitely.
It's just lucky we do get enthused by things. It's lucky that things like Yakuza Kiwami come along.
Hell yeah.
we can talk for half an hour about madness.
Man, Pro Jared put a video out recently of like how he's played Yakuza 0.
Right.
And I'm like, everything he says in that video is 100% accurate. It's just like, yes, man, you understand. And it's like, but the takeaway statement, like he says in that video that I think maybe a little exaggerated, but it might be somewhat right. Is it's like playing Yakuza made me fall in love with video games again. It's like I remembered why games are good, and I'm like, yeah, that's probably a little overreaching, but I find it hard to disagree. It's like it's a video game as video game, and doing the things that games are good at. So.
Yeah, do you think there's a trend away from the video game assness of video games?
Yeah, because I don't know, Last of Us isn't. There are video game parts of like video games, right? But it's like
that's a good example of like as far away from that as you can get, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
from Last of Us is as far as Pac-Man as you can get from,
pretty much. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just not afraid of knowing what it is.
No.
It's like, it's a dumbass video game, so let's just lean into that. And admittedly, I think it took them a while to fully realise that.
Sure. Right? They were trying, it's kind of like Saints Row. They tried to make a serious game at first, but then they were like,
Yeah. In fairness, by 3, they were starting to go goofy, right? Because Yakuza 1 and 2, the PlayStation 2 era ones, I think were pretty serious.
Yeah.
And then
self-serious anyway.
A little.
But that's part of the fun is that
that there is a serious drama underneath.
Seriously. Yeah.
But really, like, this is kind of talking about like the triple B games again.
Triple B,
whereas like they're more like games, where like AAA games are trying too hard to be like movies. Almost.
It's true.
And then the indie games are on the other end of the scale, where it's just like, this is just a game. And if you get some kind of good like graphics or style, then it's a bonus.
It's a bonus, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could get into a similar conversation about like with Atomic Heart, but maybe I'll talk in more detail about that later. But because correction column, I did actually carry on playing.
Correction column for what you did,
for what I said last week. Yeah, as I said, I'd fall off it. I have not fallen off it.
Okay.
So there'll be more of that later.
Cool. Well, what else is going on before we go into what little news we seem to have this week?
I don't know. I might get Zach to have a go at fixing my toaster.
Oh. What the hell could be wrong with your toaster that you think I could fix?
I trust you a little more of this than myself.
Yeah.
Well, basically, the right-hand side works. The left-hand side doesn't.
Well, you're probably screwed. It's probably burned the wire out, right?
Yeah, I guess. Or like, what's that? Oh, it just feels like it's not catching. Like, you know, the handle's not catching on something when you push it down. Like, it's probably mechanical.
I guess it could have well, I wouldn't have thought that it would have two individual contacts on like the handle to power both loops.
Yeah, I've sort of tried to take it apart once, and then didn't get very far, and then. Yeah, maybe.
The thing is, we're taking apart a used toaster is like you get half toaster and half just
half
bread dust.
Yeah. Every time I've looked at a toaster in the charity shop, it's always like, let's just tip this upside down first over the bin.
I think that's what broke it, right? Because I think I tried to do that to clean it out one time, and
dislodge it all.
You know, they have a crumb tray, right?
Yeah, sure, but even the crumb tray isn't the best. Like
they always suck.
Yeah, there's stuff like still in the gubbins of the machinery. Like
those were load-bearing crumbs. We needed those.
Yeah,
did you notice before it fully broke? Did you notice like hot spots where parts of the toast was getting more burned than anywhere else?
Yeah,
because that's normally what happens.
Its toasting has been pretty good, and on the side that works, it's still pretty good. It's a good toast. I mean, it's a cheap, more.
It's an average ass toaster.
It's an average ass toaster.
Triple B toaster.
It's a B tit toaster. It's not a smart toaster.
Yeah, but you don't. That's what you want, because the AAA toasters are just they're a joke to get rich people's money, right? No one needs a fucking tuner unless it's industrial application or you're actually, in a restaurant or something.
I mean, those like metallic, like 8-slice toasters with one handle that pops them all up at once, like a manual handle to pop the toast. I mean, they're pretty basic ass toasters, really, but there is something really satisfying about that fucking handle. Well, it's going ka-chonk and all this toast comes
they work
out.
on.
There was a toaster in the charity shop the other week which was like a regular toaster. It was just really long, so you could put both slices in the same slot.
Oh, weird.
But I was like, no, that's not what that's for. It's for cutting the bread lengthwise.
Oh, that's a really interesting sandwich.
The super long single slice.
Now I need a really long bread knife. I mean, bread knives are pretty long anyway, but like, I need a longer one.
I mean, I'm sure, like a toaster with one really long slot probably is slightly easier to make than a 2-slot toaster.
Probably. Yeah.
It's just one long wire and only one mechanism and all that. Well, I mean, not that most toasters have 2 mechanisms. Some of them do. Per slot popping.
Oh, yeah. Ours wasn't per slot. Ours was per pair, but classic style, I suppose.
Yeah.
Has there been an occasion where I suppose it does happen, where you just want to toast a slice?
A thing,
like,
yeah.
You've got this like wasted half.
Yep. And sometimes that fucks up how much toasting it does on the one slice you put in there because of the way the heat transfers through the gap.
What, you think it's like doing it on temperature and not just like time?
It almost certainly is doing it on temperature, yes.
Huh.
Toasters do not have timers in them.
Really? I thought
unless it's a fancy one.
Okay, yeah, because I got those dials on each half of mine. I always thought
that is not what that does. The dial tensions the bimetallic strip, which is the thermal catch, right? It heats up from the heat, and then once it reaches a certain flex, it disconnects. That's how toasters work.
Huh.
Unless you have,
or is it just that it takes like it reaches a temperature and stays there, but then it's like obviously that little strip takes longer to actually heat up.
Yes.
Yeah. So it sort of acts as a timer.
Yes, it is a functional timer of a sort, but it is based on the heat, not like a literal time.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Which means if you're toasting a different density or whatever, you can get a different amount of toasting.
Interesting.
Toast talk.
Yep.
I think you are the person to look at the toaster if anyone's going to look at it.
Oh, sure. I can look at it.
You just explained how toasters work, yeah. And you've got experience.
I don't have experience with like internal electronics. I do the cable and the plug. That's like I don't look at the actual product.
Yeah, I reckon
good enough.
See, I reckon you'd be pretty good at like an electrical repair shop, something like that. Like somebody who actually like. I'm just thinking of like someone like Ajax in Ipswich, where it's like, shout out Ajax who just fixed up hedge trimmers and Hoover, vacuum cleaner, not Hoover. It's not a Hoover. It's a Dyson, but it's a vacuum cleaner.
Shout out to the mythical Greek hero for fixing the Dyson.
Yeah, legends. They've been in Ipswich for as long as I can remember. Like they're in a different place now to where they were. They always used to be on the corner near my hairdressers. Of all places. But like
hairdressers and electricals. Yeah. Best combo.
Well, yeah, it's kind of they break
all their shit, cut people's hair, and take it next door.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, have you had your extra long appointment for your beard?
No, beard is still there. Beard is still there.
In situ. Okay.
I have tidied it as of this morning, so it's slightly less mutton choppy. But
okay.
It was getting a bit ridiculous, but it was good to get to the... No, and I were having this conversation the other night. Normally when we find hair about the place, like, okay, we don't, because we no longer have the cat, it's like, most hair we now find is like, that's ours. But like you can easily tell it's like, that's probably one of my like head hairs. That's probably one of Gnome's head hairs. And she found this one like the problem now is I'm getting like long beard hairs we're finding all over the place. And you can tell they're beard hairs because they're grey and curly, and it just looks real weird when you find them about the place. It's like, that's definitely one of mine.
It came from my face.
Yep.
And
hairs on my chin.
You've still got a few more months probably before baby hair becomes a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Once it grows out far enough to start falling out.
So babies' heads are funny, right? Like, so he's getting to the point where he's doing like accidental smiles, right? Like apparently they're not social smiles apparently at this point, but he is smiling every now and then, and in reflex to things he sees, we think. But which is so cute. But the funniest thing about his head at the moment is his head's like suddenly got bigger, like I don't think it was a very gradual change. It suddenly just got big, and we're like, it's sort of looking at him
overnight.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I just sort of was looking at him one day, going like, "You've got a massive forehead." Suddenly, like his hairline has receded at 7 weeks old. Like it's really funny.
Old bad baby.
Yeah,
I love those. They're the best.
It's really funny because he's always had quite a fair amount of hair on him, like since he was born, and now it's just going further round the back of his head. It's so strange.
Awesome.
He's a cute little nightmare. That's a very manly thing to say. He's a manly baby.
He's a manly.
He's cute as all hell. You can look back on this recording and be all embarrassed. Yeah.
God.
I hope your kid's not listening to our freaking Saladcast in the future.
Oh, I really hope he is.
Archived.
I mean, like, maybe after I die.
That's a bit much, isn't it?
And then he goes back and is like, I wonder what my dad, I guess you might have that pang, I suppose. I wonder what my dad's past is like.
Would you have that about your dad right now?
I mean, not
that your dad's dead or anything.
No, but I'm not very...
or currently dying.
I'm really not historically sentimental.
No, exactly. So why do you think your kid would be?
I mean, I might not be. But, I assume it's the same thing about like, why people look into their family trees and stuff like that, which is...
Yeah,
sure, but I think it's a bit...
Which I know loads of people have done.
Well, yeah, my mum does that. But, like, I think it's a bit different when it's like the internet. Like when you go and look at like a 14-year-old YouTube video or something, it's just like, this is weird.
Oh, sure, but like at least with the Saladcast, not to.
And also,
like, we've recorded it in relatively decent audio quality, and that's not going to age that badly at this point.
Oh, wow.
Other than the content's going to age terribly.
Maybe.
The way we speak has already aged.
Yep, it sure has. But I think the difference is that, like, when you're researching your family tree or whatever, you're not really getting much detail. Whereas if you actually went back and listened to our podcast from 14 years ago, it is pretty much just like, you know, us.
I suppose if you really want to know the details of toilet roll, you can listen to season 1 of the Saladcast.
Yes, exactly. It's like, that's not the information you want. If you're sentimental about your family history, you probably don't want actually to hear exactly what they said at the time.
I mean, could you feed the Saladcast into part of the AI, some history AI, and be like,
if you feed all of our Saladcast recordings into an AI and then be like, create the average Saladcast.
I mean,
and then see how many times it says poignant.
Create a dictionary from every time we've had a grammar section at the start.
Yeah, I mean, that would inevitably be part of it.
It would be poignant.
That could be handy. Okay, looking forward to it being able to do that.
Salad grammar.
I mean, we could experiment with that, like, at the moment, and have it feed an AI all of Rob's like blurbs and see what it comes up with as a normal Saladcast blurb.
Oh, I mean that sounds pretty funny, actually.
I thought you were about to say, "Or have I done that already?" Because would you be able to tell?
They are quite random.
You mean the blurbs for the videos? Or
well, no, I meant like the Saladcast.
The Saladcast is in particular, because they really are just like whatever I had in mind at the time.
Oh, those blurbs. Oh, right. Yeah. We could easily do that. You could just stick. I could call it API to get those out and feed them all into ChatGPT.
I mean, ChatGPT's probably already scraped us.
Yeah,
right?
the whole internet.
So I wonder if you could ask it. Like, we're probably not. What's the word I'm looking for? We're probably not famous enough to be or notable enough to be able to say in the style of Rob from the Saladcast.
No, probably not.
But they're starting to make things like, I'm seeing it in dev circles where like there are things where you can put your docs for your whatever it is, your API or your library or whatever it is, or framework into this thing, and it will give you a chatbot from ChatGPT-4 on that content or whatever. So then some people can ask questions about your library or whatever, and it will use that as the source, which is kind of cool, because presumably it makes the whole doc part of a prompt. I don't know how that it actually works. Anyway, but we could probably, I mean, there's probably less of your blurbs than there are of a lot of those, like the React docs or whatever. You probably feed all of those in as prompt.
There's only 339-ish paragraphs.
Exactly. So feed all of those in as a prompt and then say...
And 50% of that is going to be like, in this episode, there's games.
You just wait a few more months and then Google's AI will come out and then it will just be able to scrape our slate directly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll probably be plenty of conversations about pork pies and the conveyor
in the
belts
underneath
the world which transport them.
I think that only happened like twice.
Right, should we do the news?
I mean, we could.
What is going on?
I was enjoying myself, but we could.
But we need to bring this back to a serious topic.
But we could.
I mean, we're talking about the Saladcast. It is a podcast about video games, theoretically. But there's not much going on in video game land, is there?
No, I mean, it's like, even with like GDC kicked off and there's that Unreal stuff came out of it, but yeah, ultimately, no, not a great deal of like mind-shattering news has come out of anything. Apart from maybe the hilarity of calling a video game Counter-Strike 2.
Well, I mean, it had already been rumoured, but now they confirmed it.
Yep, that's real. That wasn't even a joke. It's Counter-Strike 2. Even though, and I've lost track now. Like, what is this? Must be the 5th
something
Counter-Strike
like that.
game.
I mean, I guess it depends how you count the like early versions before it became a game.
Yeah, like they were just one, right, until they like Counter-Strike 1.6.
Yeah,
like,
well, people will say 1.6 was different from the earlier versions.
Yeah, but I would. Well, I suppose. Yeah, I guess because like, how did it launch? Did it launch as just a mod?
Yeah, it was a mod.
Yeah, maybe. I suppose when it became separate product, then I guess that was an iteration. But
was 1.6 that when Steam launched, or did Steam launch with what earlier version? I think because Half-Life 2 2004 or something.
Yeah, I think 1.6 was.
That must have been post Steam.
Yeah,
I don't know. It seems like it might have been around the same time.
Because wasn't Half-Life 2 launched with Steam?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Or was it Orange Box that launched Steam? I can't remember. No. Orange Box must have been much later.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Half-Life 2. And of course, because it was new, it didn't work very well.
Wait, but wasn't Counter-Strike written for Half-Life 1?
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's like,
okay.
I think maybe the first version of Counter-Strike on Steam would have been a 1.6 version.
Yeah,
1.6,
you might be right.
yeah.
Just packaged standalone.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it would have been out beforehand. Yeah, because Half-Life,
Well, that's
because
what we would
Counter-Strike
have played.
Source was the Half-Life 2 one.
But at LGI, we would have played the Steam version of 1.6, right? I think.
Yeah, I guess.
I think we might have played the non-Steam version of 1.6 at LGI.
Just modded.
Really?
Yeah. I think we might have been running a standalone because obviously it wasn't us installing it; it was already there.
Yeah, it was on
because it was a LAN center. We just went in and there and ran the program.
But I seem to remember the Steam interface because it was green at the time.
Yes, it was.
I think we might have lived through the transition at LGI.
Yes, I think so.
So we probably played both,
possibly.
Yeah. So because there was that. Okay, if we're counting that, there's like pre-Steam, Steam, and then Source.
Yeah.
And then what came after? There was the weird one with the campaign, right? I can't remember the name of. And then CS:GO. So by that logic, we're on the 6th.
Yeah.
Mm. But they're going to call it 2 because it's Valve, I guess.
I mean, did after did 1.6 has this just been like 1.9 this whole time?
What is the actual version number?
That's pretty funny. But anyway, they're basically doing an Overwatch 2 on it, is what it sounds like.
Well, the thing is, like,
it's like the same game, but with a graphical overhaul, with some balance tweaks, ongoing. Presumably, it will have better esports coverage, and CS was pretty good at its esports styling anyway. All of your items are coming with you, so like, there's no like reset of any super expensive skins you've sunk money into over the years. It's all coming with.
I haven't heard the specifics, but because I heard about like all your items are coming over, but it seems like people are suggesting that it's going to just be an upgrade. Like CS:GO is essentially just going to be replaced with Counter-Strike 2.
That's sort of what. Yeah. So that's what happened with Overwatch as well.
Well,
right?
but I meant like, on Steam, it's just directly going to overwrite it. It's not going to be like a separate.
Wait, so CS:GO isn't even going to exist as a.
Yeah.
So it's a rebrand kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I heard some things along that line. Because that would make it way easier to deal with item transitions.
Though.
I guess, but then like wouldn't Steam just integrate with like Steam inventory in some way and just be like, I can see you've got all these items.
Yeah, I guess because the Counter-Strike stuff is in the inventory system.
Yeah.
For as much as nobody uses that system, Valve does.
I mean, of all things that used Steam inventory, Redout used it. Can you believe?
Mm.
For like skins, for like ship skins.
The thing that I find annoying about the Counter-Strike 2 versus Overwatch 2 comparison is a very specific thing, is that, like, I was trying to bid on Counter-Strike 2 for our fantasy league.
Oh, right.
But you can't, because it's labelled as a partial remake.
Yeah.
And Overwatch 2 is labelled as a new game.
Oh.
And I was like, what? You can't have one of those be one thing and one of those be the other.
Yeah.
I did see that Counter-Strike 2 is in not eligible.
Yeah.
I mean, neither of those should have been eligible, really. I mean, Overwatch 2 is a difficult one because, like, it became just an upgrade, right? Whereas at first, they made it sound like it was a bit more of a thing because none of that PvE stuff has come out.
Well, it exists though, right? Because the PvE mode exists.
I thought the PvE stuff in Overwatch was like a passing special, like, and then there were permanent modes supposedly coming to Overwatch 2.
Maybe
that I don't think ever did.
I thought they did at one point, but maybe that was a special timed thing as well.
Yeah, they had like annual like story missions and things that were like a PvE scenario that sort of came and went with events, but they never stayed on. I don't know. I've never checked in with Overwatch 2. That's one of those things that I said I would do and just haven't.
But like, if you're going to call Overwatch 2 not a partial remake, then I don't know about that. Like, if you're going to call Counter-Strike 2 a partial remake, I'd say Overwatch is on the same tier.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, especially as it sits right now, I would totally agree with what that game ended up being when it launched. Yeah. I mean, partial remake even feels strong. Like, you know, annual. Like, it feels like it should be like an annual update, but it's not annual.
Well, I suppose, yeah, but that's what partial remake's for, I guess. It's not like a sports game.
Yeah,
it doesn't come out that quickly, but it is just like an update to the roster almost.
Yeah, it's like
because obviously Counter-Strike is going to have all the same levels.
It's like a Fortnite season at this point, right? It's just like it's just like very slow cadence compared to Fortnite. It's Fortnite going Unreal 5. Is what Counter-Strike 2 is to CS:GO.
That would be weird if that turned up on the like fancy critic list as a separate thing.
What, like Fortnite Unreal 5?
Yeah. Partial remake of Fortnite.
I mean, season reviews. Could that be a thing that you could then bid on? Fortnite season 28 or whatever they're on.
No, can't bid on that for our league.
No.
Partial remakes
but
aren't
allowed. You get reviews of seasons of TV shows and stuff, but for games.
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure people have done that for Fortnite.
It just hasn't hit the sort of like Metacritic level, I suppose.
No.
Like they haven't got the framework for that. Yeah, so that's CS2 is happening.
So there are gameplay changes. I mean, the one that I saw that kind of looked interesting was the smoke grenade.
That's the one they're touting. Yeah.
Yeah, but also the underlying one is like we're having sub-tick rate updates or something, right? Where they're actually changing how it actually works.
Which, you know, is not technically a new technology. Like other games have done that. It's just now it's coming to Counter-Strike. But they want to make a big deal of it.
I mean, that does change the game, right?
In theory, yes.
Competitively, yeah.
I don't really know what that even means. So does that mean it's like... So the actual the game server is just running at a much higher rate than it's broadcasting to players?
No, it's the other way around. The client records everything in specific time, but then the server updates in a ticked fashion, but then the ticks can see what happened in that tick according to the clients. So it's like...
Oh, right, so the server rate is actually lower, but it's...
Yes.
But then surely the feedback... Oh, man, I don't understand.
It's just like lag compensation, really.
Yeah, so but isn't the feedback to the player then less reliable? Like if the server ticks slower and then has to correct something.
No, it looks better to you because if you see you shot...
Until the server corrects something.
Sure, but like I think it favours... you doing things rather than you not doing things.
Does this not sound like Halo 2 to you? Isn't that like how that worked? Like,
I mean, that's what I said. I mean, this technology is not new in any way.
Yeah, because Halo, because that just brings back horrible memories of Halo 2 stand-buying, right? Do you remember that? Like where you could cause
lag switches.
You could cause a temporary pause in your internet, the idea being that it was so trustworthy of client data that you could then go up and kill someone while they couldn't react, and then when your connection reestablished itself because the hitch was only briefly or whatever that you'd put in, artificially put in, that it would go, yeah, you killed that guy, because the server would just trust what the client tells it.
I mean, presumably it just does a direct comparison of the ticks now, which like theoretically that should feel worse for the client, but when you're like already in the millisecond range, like I think it's already been conclusively proved by like experiments that you don't actually, even the proest of Counter-Strike players don't actually react faster than the servers do.
Sure. Yeah.
So they only think they're being gypped because of the way it updates in that specific tick rate.
I mean, sure, like it has to be what, I guess about 30 milliseconds, which is almost impossible for a human to actually react in that short space of time.
Yeah. It will just look better. Or something, I don't know, maybe.
But surely you can perceive things at a faster rate than you can react to things. Right?
Yes.
The reaction is quite slow, but perception is quite fast.
That's the argument behind high refresh screens, right? You can see something slightly earlier if you have a high refresh screen, but your physical ability to move,
react,
it both like begin the process to react to what you've seen and actually then physically move the mouse and keys or whatever to actually do the thing. Sure, you're gaining advantage because you're perceiving it quicker, but like, the actual musculation was what I was going to call that.
But it's not even just your muscles; like it's literally your brain takes time to interpret signals. And I mean,
one of the most baffling theories I like about consciousness in the mind is like. The one I always
exist in one moment, right?
No, the one I always
exist in a kind of smeared out moment.
Yeah, the one I always remember is that like our concept of consciousness is apparently half a second behind what has actually happened. Like, so we've already made the decision, we've already done the thing, and before our brain remembers it. Is it? If ever you want one of those like thoughts that's like we are not in control of ourselves, like that is the one that's going to mess you up. And it's
mind blowing.
Well, no, I prefer the one about the backfill, where like when you look at something, your brain just makes up what you're seeing before you actually see it, because it takes time to process the first instant that you look at something.
Because your eyes are basically permanently temporal anti-aliasing, but using. Well, actually, no. It's that. What is it? It's that. What's that NVIDIA anti-aliasing tech called?
The DLSS one.
DLSS, yeah. The DLSS 3 with its AI frame filling, right? Because that does that. It puts frames in before the next frame to try and give you even more frames than you're actually generating natively. It's what your eyes are doing.
Guessing. Right.
Yeah, we're doing DLSS 3. Yeah, I 100% believe that. That's why you always think you see things.
I don't think you need to believe it. I think that's just true.
Well, yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, how can you prove? I mean, I'm sure there's science, but like, how can you like? I'm sure they're trying to explain this stuff, but like on some level, like with this, it's like, how can you realistically prove that? Really? Anywho. All of this will help your Counter-Strike game.
Counter-Strike, it's coming. It seems
it's like don't worry, you've already lost.
An effect. Like more people are currently playing Counter-Strike than they have for a while, I think, on the basis of this news.
Oh, really?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I
have to admit, even without the news, I kind of had that pull. Like in the last couple of weekends, I've thought like maybe it's about time I picked up CS or Valorant again. I'm gonna suck so hard. But because it's been a while.
And your ranks will reset though.
Oh yeah, God, that is the most annoying thing about ranked play on CS. There's no way to actually play with your friends if you D-rank or unrank or get too far apart and rank.
Yep.
Like there's just no way to do it. Ugh. I know why they do it. It's just really irritating. I think Valorant's a lot more lenient with that.
I mean, it should make going back to it better, except for going through the ranking process. Like, theoretically, when you lose your rank and get re-ranked, it should make it better, because then you'll be as bad as your rank is now.
No,
but you have to go through the process.
What all unranked really means is, you've got to go through the process, but then it puts you back based on your previous record anyway. So it's not like it's fully re-speccing you.
I wish it would in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, I wish Rocket League would do that as well.
I wish there was a way where you could just opt into that.
Oh god, just say it's been a while for me, so just reset. But then I don't know, that's too much smurfing or whatever. I guess
maybe, but then surely that I guess if people are playing well, then it should
it should automatically boost
rank them back in the right place.
Although, as we said several times about Rocket League, it's like you're always going to end up in like around gold to diamond. There's like, how do you get ranked into bronze? I don't think that's possible.
Yeah, that would have to be really hard. In Rocket League, especially.
Yes.
I mean, in CS, that's super easy.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that's the sort of area I rock. Yeah, because I'm not good. Yeah, I don't know. That'd be quite, especially if you could do it as a group and be like so if you play with some mates and they're okay with like I want to get back into this as well, but my rank is still high because it will come back high as soon as we get out of unranked phase. It's like, can we not just like collectively say we all suck? Can we play together? Like,
yeah, but then that's smurfing again.
Smurfing, yeah, I know. It's
in an even worse way, really.
Yeah, bloody humans making it difficult for the rest of us. Wait, making it like annoying for regular ass people.
That's why there should always be grouped ranks, but then that makes it impossible to match ranks.
Oh, team ranks, yeah, team ranks would be cool. I've always thought that would be especially neat on Rocket League, right? Because Rocket League is like the framework for that stuff.
Yeah,
they went to the point of having clan tags and all that stuff, and never introduced team ranks.
No, it was just so you could be a weird colour.
Yeah, man, missed opportunity. Still don't actually miss not playing Rocket League all that much. Like it's weird after it being such a pull for 6 years or whatever.
You've been through longer periods of not being interested in Rocket League, though.
Have I?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Alrighty. Moving on. Talking about let's stick to new games. A number of internet channels seem to be gushing about this Lego thing, Lego 2K Drive.
I
mean,
it's a kart racer of some kind.
Yeah, well, I mean, for one thing, it's a bad name. It's bad. Lego 2K Drive is a bad name. Like just because it's published.
Why is it called that?
Yeah, you got to fit the 2K
published by 2K
there.
Games.
You got to fit the 2K in there.
Yeah,
so it's got to have that's got to be in there somewhere. What else could you call it?
It's like why it's NBA 2K,
like a code
right?
Name? Oh. That's so dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
It should at least be called Lego Drive 2K.
Yeah. Or just Lego Drive.
Yeah, you can't. You have to put the 2K in there.
No, it sucks. It's a bad bit of branding. But yeah, I guess someone at 2K looked at that expansion they did for Forza 4
and stole the idea.
And were like, and thought, nah, this is a bit half-assed. We can do better than that.
Well, I don't know if it was half-assed.
It was a little half-assed.
I mean, it was an expansion to a game that already existed.
Yeah, I mean, the main complaints of like the Forza 4 expansion was like there weren't actually that many Lego cars added to it as a result, and there weren't that. The Lego environment wasn't
super Lego-y.
No, so a lot of what you ended up doing just happened in Forza 4. Not. I mean, it was a fine expansion, like, and visually quite impressive and all that jazz. But like as you would expect, but just they could have done more. And I think this is that more. So it's got an open world element where you're driving around an environment, a Lego-y environment, which looks pretty cool. I mean, it's sort of cool, I should say, because it looks like an environment, but then there's plenty of Lego stuff in it.
Sure,
like it's not 100% made of Lego, which is always a bit difficult, I guess.
I mean, they do that with like the other Lego open world games.
Yeah.
It's not always like all Lego.
Sure.
I guess it's more like the idea of a kid playing with Lego in their room or something, in a real environment.
Yeah, I can see that. And then the actual racing part takes place on properly designed tracks, so they're not tracks in the environment, like stitched together from the environment. The tracks are elsewhere. And as far as I could, like, the obvious comparison, Dan, you already beat me to this, and it's like because this was the comparison I drew immediately. Was like, there's a lot of Sonic and All Stars Racing transformed to this, because it's got well, in the footage I've seen, there seems to be like a base like kart level where you're like on a tiny little like quad bikey type thing, but that could turn into like a supercar in an instant. And then there's also a power boat. That you have.
Yeah, I think there's a normal car, and then off-road is ATV, and then water is boat. That's what I've seen for sure.
So the thing I
don't think I've seen any flying.
No, I've not seen any flying. No,
but there might be. Was that in Sonic?
Yeah, it was. Yes.
Stuff? Yeah.
That was the third form. There was kart, boat, and flying.
Flying, yeah, makes sense. Of course, there's 3 forms in Mario Kart these days, isn't there? There's flying, gliding, and then there's the
anti-grav.
Kind of anti-grav, yeah.
Well, and if you count the underwater,
I guess.
Yeah.
No, probably not. Probably less so. Actually, it didn't really change the handling all that much.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's good use of the Lego license, I guess.
Well, it seems kind of weird that they got that license after the Forza thing. Like,
nobody owns Lego.
Well, no, but I mean, sure, but like, if they already had a business dealing with the Forza team or whatever, and then Lego, if you imagine this was a Lego idea, and like, why don't we make a whole racing game? And then they were just like, but we're going to get this other company to do it.
Yeah, but I guess Forza went back to Hot Wheels, right?
Well, I mean, sure.
So they can't have been a long.
And I'm sure they're probably too busy to work on a separate game themselves anyway.
Sure. But Playground are working on something not Forza Horizon right now, right?
Right.
Like, or at least part of Playground are. We still don't know what that project is officially.
What other racing games have 2K made?
Oh, that is a question. I don't actually know. They haven't made many and slapped the name 2K on them.
Sure.
I don't know what studio is actually behind this. But yeah, it looks all right. Like, I would say the footage I've seen makes it look quite framey. But they've got so maybe there's some optimization needed doing before it actually releases. That's fair. But the core mechanics looked kind of fun. So it's Mario Kart-esque, but like as you bump into things, like bits come off your car. Or your vehicle, so that you do have health. I think is the thing. So you have like a health system, but you regain that by just smashing shit. So like by like hitting other Lego models, the bits from those fly off and then attach to your car or something. That's the premise, right? That's why that works.
Yeah.
In Lego Land,
smash things into pieces.
Yeah, and you gain you gain the bricks, which that's probably going to feel quite fun. Like, let me hit some Lego stuff. Let it smash up, and then it's mine.
That'd only be cool if they do it properly. Where like when you hit things, I mean, it can't use the exact pieces, but maybe the color. Like if your car is yellow at the start, and then you run through like a brick wall, but the bits you attach are red.
Yeah. So if you like take out a whole bunch of fence, you just end up with a brown car again. Yeah, I bet they've got.
I mean, it would be even cooler if it could manage to use like actual parts. You'd have to like make it some like a procedural system where it's like this part is this long and this deep, so it will fit in that kind of slot on the shape of the car model or something.
Super hardcore, but that would be pretty fun.
That would be super cool.
I mean, they haven't really. I haven't seen anything about like if the cars are all just like pre-designed, or if you can actually build some stuff or like mess with it.
That is the classic problem with Lego games.
Like, is there any Lego?
How much Lego is it? Do you actually get to do any Lego?
Like, not at all most of the time.
Nope.
Or hold a button to Lego.
Yeah,
basically. That's usually as much as you get. Yeah, can you like Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts this to some extent?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Worth mentioning because that seems to be the one game everyone's talking about at the moment.
Well, because I guess there's nothing else really announced. But yeah,
it's also one of those few times like apparently they had a review day, like who there aren't many publishers that do that, or not a review day, but like a preview day where they like bring journalists to a place to just play their game for a few hours.
Maybe that's about to become more common now that E3 isn't taking longer. Maybe all the companies
maybe.
that would usually do that at E3 have been like, oh shit, there's no E3 any longer. We better start just doing these the normal way.
The old strategies return. Yeah. Yeah. So that is okay. Right. Okay. There is. I've just looked it up. There is a little history behind this. Like Lego 2K Drive is so called because there was a game in 2013 called 2K Drive.
Okay. So they've done at least one other racing game.
They've done this before.
But not a Lego themed game.
Not a Lego themed game, no.
But no one remembers 2K Drive, so why do they? I mean, we don't.
No.
I mean, presumably it was a hella generic Forza game.
Oh, it might have been an iOS game.
Oh, okay.
Which is why we don't remember it.
Yeah, right, okay.
Mobile driving games, that's fine, I guess.
Huh, but still, yeah, it's a slightly weird brand to pull on.
If it really counts as a brand.
Yeah. That's probably it for game news. But the other little bit of information is there is supposedly a PS5 Pro in development right now that is slated for release at the end of 2024. So the rumor goes.
That seems unlikely. I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. Like, I think it's.
I mean, the timescales of it. I'm sure they will do a Pro before they do a new console for sure. Absolutely. I mean, the whole everyone in the last generation did one. So definitely. But that still seems soon. I don't know.
Yeah, it does seem soon. And also it's weird. It's slightly odd because we're still in the position where like even Sony are still directly supporting both PS5 and PS4. Still. Right, so
that's
like,
true.
What Ragnarok came out on both,
and
and PS5 has only had a price increase; it hasn't had a decrease. So it's like the Pro. What is the Pro going to come out at an even higher price point? Which seems terrifying.
Unless this isn't a Pro,
$199.
Yeah, probably. Unless this isn't a Pro, unless it's some other like. I know, special VR version of the PS5 that has like extra VR stuff built in.
Right, or it's just a bundle with
not a bundle. Yeah, it's going to be some tech if they're having to develop it. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's an odd one. Like,
or it's just a PS5 with a PS4 in it. Make it even bigger.
Yeah, but you don't need that because PS5 is PS4 back compat, right? For the most part.
Or PS3 at least. They've retooled, they've brought back the PS3 tooling and they're going to start making PS3 boards of it inside a PS5.
Oh, weird. Return of Sal.
Yep. Link them together with some fridges.
US Army will be pleased.
Yep.
I mean, I'd be more sure. I mean, surely the easier play would be to put a PS5 Slim out. And it's.
Well, yes.
And if they can manufacture it easier and get them out easier, then surely that's the play.
Well,
because
I don't think a Slim makes that easier, though, does it? It's because it's not really changing the important parts; it's changing the plastic parts. Some of the important parts will change a bit.
I mean, surely they'll have to downscale a lot. They'll have to downscale a lot of the internals and like maybe smaller die chipsets and.
Sure, but I don't think that would make that part easier. That might even make making the internal parts harder.
Maybe, but like, isn't like your general yield rate if you manage to make smaller dies on chips and things like just higher? Like, maybe not yield rate, I suppose. Like in terms of like how much you actually have to throw away, that's probably lower, but because it doesn't work. But like the actual like cost to manufacture is like outweighs it because you're using less materials. It's like, is there something like that? I don't know. I don't understand like electronics manufacturing. That's not my bag. But generally, that's what like a Slim or a revision console does. It's at heart a cost saving measure, and it just happens to result in a smaller machine.
Indeed.
I mean, historically, that's
and
how
sometimes they fix hardware problems, right? Like the 360, they fix the fact that they broke constantly.
Yeah, quite important. Exactly. The I forgot what they've even called, what those models were even called, but the later 360 models were
the black ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was the Elite, and then they did a full redesign, didn't they? They did two different shapes of the 360 over its life cycle. There was a smaller one, and then there was an even smaller one right at the end of its life cycle. The E, I remember the E. The E was the last one, and I reckon there was an S or something. It was probably called an S, the 360S, something like that. And those were full on, like, smallernings, reductions.
M smallens.
M smallens. PS3 had two, didn't it? PS3 also had two. It had the slim and the super slim.
Yeah.
I was considering getting a PlayStation 2 Slim because my PlayStation 2, like that first,
I really like that.
That
I
first
had
edition,
one of those.
Yeah, that first edition PlayStation 2 is noisy.
And the PS2 Slim is tiny in comparison to them. It's really small and considerably in small. And of course, it doesn't have the power supply in it.
Sure.
That's a brick.
Yeah.
So that's one trick. But still, yeah, I like my PS2 Slim. I just think I gave it to sold it to my flatmate, but for Guitar Hero purposes.
I was going to ask you about that if you still had it.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering where it was, and no, I think it's in where does he live? Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay, that went some distance then.
Yeah, presumably he had to use a converter because it's a house, obviously.
That must have been quite inconvenient for him.
Yeah, that must suck because it's going to be a 50 hertz, 50 hertz console in America. That's never going to work.
I don't know. I think he bought it from me before he moved to America. Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, it might work. The OSSC would probably deal with it, and like HDTVs would deal with a 50 hertz signal maybe now. But at the time of its relevance, that would have blown.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have that.
No,
but it was cool. Well, I did. It was good. It was good. That was the Guitar Hero machine.
I did consider breaking my guitars out.
See how many of them still work.
Yeah, probably. Hopefully more than my PlayStation controllers. Fuck, those things are dying left, right, and center. Even my supposedly good one, which is a PS1 analog controller, because both my PlayStation 2 controllers suck. They've gone a bit awry. But even my PlayStation 1 analog controller is starting to lose. It's fine, apart from L1. L1 you have to press really hard, and then it works. But I have actually got like a pretty much unused PS1 controller, like in white, in like the analog one. But I don't know if I want to use it, right? Because it's like,
not until all the other ones are fully dead.
Yeah.
Preserve it as long as possible.
Exactly, it's pristine. I did get the PlayStation 1 out of the loft though, because I think there are some things that the PS2 gets wrong with the PlayStation 1 output, and I just want to double check that, like, or if it's a problem with the PS2's signal once you run it through an OSSC.
Right.
There's some stuff that looks a bit funky, like I was going through FF8 saves earlier and I noticed the same problem, but maybe we'll talk about it in games later. But Wipeout 3 has a bit of a problem with it, so I'd quite like to not have that problem. It like skips a frame every now and then. It sort of looks a bit jumpy, like it goes forward a frame, back a frame, and yeah, I don't know what part of the chain is at fault there. So I'm going to try my actual PlayStation 1. I'm going in.
He's going in, boys.
Hold the rope. If I get too deep, someone tug on it.
It's kind of a bit late for that, I think, at this point.
on a podcast about video games, yeah, we're too deep.
He's in too deep. He's trying to keep
above in my head instead of going under.
Instead of going under. Okay. I think that might be news, right? I don't know. That's not much.
I guess so.
That's the end of news.
Was that in Guitar Hero? It was.
I don't know. Maybe one of the later ones. But,
maybe the Infinite DLC.
Yeah. Must have been there at some point.
Are you sure it wasn't just in the first? What was in the?
I don't think it was in the first one. In fairness, like all my time in like the first Guitar Hero was pretty much either playing Queens of the Stone Age, also and Queen. Like maybe it's just bands with Queen in the name. But, and actually, like the bonus songs that you got after finishing the main, all the stuff that was made by like Harmonix staff and friends of Harmonix. Like I used to play all that more than the actual licensed tracks.
Well, they weren't actual licensed tracks at that point, though, were they?
So they were one. Yeah, most of the soundtrack was licensed, but like and proper.
Oh,
because didn't it end on Freebird? Oh no, if that was like 2 or something. But
yeah, but the first game was all covers, though, right? Because they couldn't get the licenses at that
some
point.
of them definitely were covers,
right?
Yeah, but they were very good covers, like amazingly good.
I thought they were all covers in the first game.
Oh,
I think it wasn't until the second game when they actually got the.
I'm sure a lot of them were. Maybe you're right. I thought a lot of them were real, but
I got it here. It's on Wikipedia. All songs are covers of the original versions.
Oh man, they're good covers though. A lot of them.
They're really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the first game did have Fat Lip by Sum 41.
Oh, did it? Huh.
Yeah, it didn't have In Too Deep, but it did have Fat Lip.
Okay.
Yeah, but obviously cover, but they were really good covers. Yeah. I think I like the first one the best.
If they went back but they never went back and redid that playlist.
No,
right? And like got the
because they could have done that playlist with the proper versions. Would be amazing.
Yeah, they never did that, and that is such a lineup, that first game. Man, I feel so stupid now for being like hoodwinked on most of them. I thought there was like a mix of like covers and
because you just remember this like subsequent games when they were the real ones.
I mean,
yeah, maybe
it wasn't long before Guitar Hero 2 came out. That came out pretty quick, and that did have the real thing. It
was like a year or 2, right? It was just.
I used to just swap in and out the discs and just be playing 1 and then 2 and then 1 and then 2 all the time.
I mean, and then it took them until the 360 era and a hard drive where you could just be like, just install all of those songs to the hard drive, and then you'll play them in every future version of the game. And Rock Band, I think, did that as well. And it's like, oh, that's brilliant.
That's what you want.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Although Guitar Hero 3 did I think have the free DLC for, do you want to play the Halo theme? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to play the Halo theme.
Oh yeah, that was cool. It was around that time of Halo 2, doing the crazy.
I think it was Halo 3's launch.
Was it Halo 3?
Yeah, they tied it up. Oh, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. I would imagine it was Halo 3, but.
Also, Guitar Hero 2 that only has 4 of proper master recordings.
Oh, really? So that was all covers as well, was it?
Yeah. By the same people. So the only ones that were master recordings were My Chemical Romance, Primus, Toadies, and Jane's Addiction stopped.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But otherwise, they were the covers.
We're known as Big Brown Beaver. That was
yeah,
that's a fun song.
Interesting. Yeah. Anyway, break it out or try and get hold of a PS2 Slim and break out the plastic guitars.
It's just noisy. I mean, you don't really notice it while you're actually in the middle of a game, but like while it's loading, like it's supposed to be quiet in the room. It's not quiet in the room. It's like
no,
it's noisier than I remember the PlayStation 3 being, and that thing was a jet engine at times. It's like this thing is just a constant whir, like whoa, and it's like, how did this thing take off?
Yeah, I know.
Everything was like that. That's how.
Yeah, but the PS1 wasn't like that.
Even the OG Xbox.
The PS1 didn't need nearly as much cooling.
No, the PS1 was silent and near enough, and the OG Xbox wasn't that loud. GameCube was silent as well.
Again, not much cooling required.
I mean, it had a fan.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, Sony just. I mean, PlayStation 2 was a great machine and it came out earlier than the others, but I'm not knocking it for that. But yeah, it's a noisy.
Beat them to the punch. Yeah,
it's a noisy thing.
Doesn't even matter if you get rid of the fan noise; you're just going to get disc drive noise instead.
A disc drive in the PS2 is pretty quiet, actually.
Sometimes.
Well, yeah, if it can't read a disc, then it makes a hell of a noise. I think it might have. It might have. I'm not sure if my disc was already busted, but it might have torn up my disc 1 of FF8.
Oh, good.
Like it made a horrible noise. and seems incapable of reading that. So I'm going to try that in the PS1 to make sure it's not borked, but I think it might be borked. Which means I might be eBaying a copy of Final Fantasy VIII to replace it. But well, I'm going to play that version again, but I don't know, we might. No, the PC version's like there now. Like, why would you? Why would you? Video games.
Video games. What have we been playing is the question. I think it's time to answer that question. Let's answer it with Zach.
Yep.
I want to know. What's he been playing?
I've definitely not been playing much this fortnight, that's for sure. I think I said last time that I'd had at least 1 week of it being one of those weeks, and this next 2 weeks has also been 2 more of those weeks where I haven't seemed to have been doing any kind of stuff. I did play quite a lot of Rocket League for some reason.
Okay.
Don't know why I came back to that specifically. And got slightly out of Lemon Down. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Outskirts of Lemon Down.
A little de-lemoned. Your citrus intake was too high.
Yeah. Anti-scurvy. Inverse scurvy. I mean, that's just like vitamin C poisoning.
I have too much C!
So there's that. So there's only really 2 things to talk about. Because I'm pretty sure this is only the only 2 other things I played, except for a bit more Minecraft. I guess that's still happening. I played a bit of Baba Is You.
Okay, yeah.
But I only really did like 1 session because like I played 1 fairly long session of it and then got a headache and I was just like, I'm not going to go back to this. And then so that's half puzzle headache and half like low resolution headache that I get.
Low resolution headache?
Yeah, and like I've noticed it, like, I mean, I've probably mentioned it before on the podcast, but like in pixel art games, at a certain resolution point, I start getting headaches from it. Like, I'm totally fine with like, I know, Owlboy is totally fine, and like Terraria is fine when it's zoomed out far enough, and like Stardew as well. But then like there comes a point when the resolution of the pixel art gets low enough, it just seems to affect me in a weird way.
So were you all right when we were doing Ocarina, like the video?
Yeah,
series?
it's only pixel art that does it. It's not like low resolution.
So like, yeah,
it's like low pixel resolution.
Huh. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know how that has started to happen.
I mean, I find it fascinating that you've managed to like restrict it. Like,
I mean, maybe it is just coincidence.
Yeah.
But like, it always seems like if I'm playing a game with a particularly low pixel art resolution, it happens.
Huh.
But in this case, there was also like puzzle headache as well because that game is not easy. It turns out.
I didn't ever imagine it.
Well,
would
sure,
be.
It's a puzzle game, but it's like even at the start, it's quite difficult to get your head around, even though it seems quite simple. Because you're having to think I feel like one of the sort of problems of that game is like it's not very easy to experiment with, except in the places where it explicitly lets you. Like, so obviously, like right in the first level, there's the opportunity to mess around with it and like solve it several different ways because they just give you access to all the words basically that control how the game works. So you can just mess around with that. But that's very rarely the case in the other levels. And the way I think I've sort of started to realize that these puzzles always seem to go is like, you'll come into a level, there'll be a really obvious thing you can do that will get you like halfway towards the solution, but then there's something where it just doesn't work. And then you have to basically reset and be like, okay, so that's the obvious thing to do. What's the non-obvious thing to do?
Right.
And then you have to like just like look at all the possible things you can move around and be like, what even can I do? But yeah, and then on a certain level, then there's just the additional puzzle difficulty brain problem of just like, when it allows you to do things, that can allow you to do a lot of things in some cases.
Right. Because I imagine, because it's really hard to actually try and explain, like let alone like. So my thought is like, okay, so there'll be a serious timing element to not only changing the rules of the level because that's how Baba Is You works.
Yes.
But also, like when you change the rules of the level, like I have to have done all this stuff. I have to have done all this set up with this set of rules, and then when I change the rules in this specific way, like now then I can manipulate it.
I mean,
like
I haven't really played that many levels that have exact timing. I mean, it's all.
I don't necessarily mean timing as in like literal real time. I mean,
well,
like,
no, I mean it's all turn based.
Yeah.
Like every move is and you can just press spacebar to wait a turn or whatever.
Oh, can you? Okay.
So you can just set things up and then set it off at the right moment. But there haven't really been that many levels that require that. It's mostly just figuring out how to change the rules to allow you to do anything.
I guess timing wasn't the right phrase. I mean, like, yes, you have to do a certain amount of setup with like in one style with one, and then you change something, and then you have to do some stuff in
yeah
with this new set of rules, or
sometimes.
And wrapping your head around that might be a new problem.
I mean, I feel like there's been some levels that have seemed easy and been impossible for me to figure out for ages, or maybe at all. There was a couple I was stuck on that I think I figured out after I stopped, but that's puzzle games.
Yeah,
for you.
That's the classic. If you're spending too long on a thing, like you have to sit back and go do something else.
But also, it seems like it lets you progress quite quickly between like how compared to how many puzzles there are in each section. I guess section of the world. Like you only need to do probably not even half of them in most cases before it will let you move on, which
suggests it knows it's difficult.
Well, it maybe suggests it knows it's difficult, but might also be some meta thing going on, because I have, this game is clearly going to be quite meta at some point. So I have
probably going to rewrite the game.
Yes, I have suspicions about why it allows you to just skip through quite a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I bet you're going to like rewrite the world map at some point.
Yes. I'm pretty sure you're going to. But, well, and then if you do complete all of the puzzles in an area, the map icon lights up differently, and it's like, well, that obviously is going to mean something at some point. Maybe not just for 100% completion type thing.
I mean, that's pretty cool that idea is even floated, right?
And, pretty immediately, one of the first paths you unlock on the world map takes you to a level which is just called the finale, and it seems unsolvable. And there's a specific word block that just says end, and I'm like, oh, I think I know what you have to connect that to you, presumably.
Oh, what? End is you?
Yeah, probably.
You is end.
Actually, I guess it's in the highlighted square, so it would have to be after Bubba. Bubba is end.
Oh, what? So it can only be a
what is it, a noun or an adjective?
Which way round is it? Well, the target, I suppose.
Yes, the target. Because that's the other important thing, obviously, is you have to connect the sentences in the correct order. You can't just put them in any order. Also, it's always left to right or top to bottom. You can't go against conventional text direction.
Hey, Dan, grammar man. What is the grammar name for when you're like the person something's being done to? The subject. Is it subject?
The subject.
Subject.
Yeah.
But so who's the doer? Like
the object. Really not the grammar man. This is very basic.
I get lost at this. This is like this. Unfortunately, this was like the core of Latin, and I've forgotten all of it.
The subject performs the action, and the object's the thing that's been done to.
Okay, so in the phrase "Baba is you," it would be subject is object.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Because you are the object. Which is that is of course the actual main puzzle of this game. Is like you always have to be something, or otherwise you can't do anything.
Right. So is it possible to bone yourself?
Yes, very easily. Okay. And that's quite a lot of the puzzles involve that, where it's like the is you part is there in the world, and if something happens and moves it around, you'll be screwed.
Unless you're immediately replacing it with some other word.
Well, yes, I have only come across one level that actually does that so far, where there's basically a wall in the middle of the map that kills you if you walk on it. Like this wall is made of it's grass, but and then the rule on the level is like grass is defeat.
Oh,
so it kills you if you walk on it. But
until you change the rule.
Defeat only affects things if they are you at the time. So if you become not you, and then the object still moves over the grass and then becomes you on the other side,
you're okay.
Then you couldn't fix it.
Gotcha.
So you had to set up to move the rule, so it's like while it's automatically moving through this space, you can't be you, but then when it reaches the other side, it goes back to being you again.
So something can't be defeated unless it's you.
Yes, defeat only affects you specifically, which means there's another puzzle elsewhere where you have to not connect you and defeat by accident, like
because you is defeat.
You can be you and defeat on the same object, so you can't do that because then you just die immediately.
Right.
But yeah, I haven't got that far. Well, I feel like I haven't got that far into it.
Man, this sounds super clever and something I would never have enough time for.
I've got as far as the bit where it gets really complicated, where you get a word in the level that is text. So now the text can be things.
What? So so if text is you, that means you
move the text.
The entire
all the text
word
on the level moves simultaneously because it's you.
Oh my god! Not just a specific bit of text, just all of it.
And then you can also, if you connect something is text, you can turn objects back into text by connecting their word. If the word of the object already exists at the level and you connect that word to is text, all of the objects in the level turn back into text.
Wow. Wait, so then you could move what you needed into a rule because it's now text.
And also text is always movable, so sometimes you can use that. Like if you
it can always be shoved.
It can always be pushed because text has its own special setting for that, which I find kind of weird because everything else, if you're moving it is push somewhere in the level.
Okay.
But text just kind of inherently has that,
right?
For some reason, I guess to make it slightly less complicated.
To make it so that you don't have to put it on screen all the time.
But yes, if you then turn objects into text, so you can move them around and then change them back from text when they've got them where you need them to go without using the push. So one of the most complicated things I did was like,
how hard must it have been to write the programming for this game?
Yeah, one of the most complicated things I did was where it's like you have to. It's got the win condition is in like this separated room that you can only teleport into, but only objects can go through a teleporter, not words. So you have to convert the word into an object to send it through the teleporter, then convert it back into a word on the other side. So you can connect
something is win.
Yeah, so you can connect the win condition. And then obviously, because you've already converted all the objects into words, when it's a word again, you then also have to somehow recreate one of the objects outside without changing the other word back to an object as well, because it needs to be a word on the inside where it's making the rule, and an object on the outside so you can touch it. And then I knocked over a teacup with no liquid in it.
Success! That's the appropriate time to knock over a mug.
Yep.
Because it's comedy at that point.
But yes, that's the ridiculous complications of that game.
Oh my god, you so need to remember your Steam password so we can do it.
Yes, we are probably going to do a video of it.
I need to see what this actually looks like.
So yeah, as I said, I really only played it that one time. So again, sort of intentionally for video content, so I don't finish it before we make a video of it. Not that I necessarily think that's going to be a problem for the video, because you guys won't have seen it before.
Well, and you've got plenty of levels you won't have done by the sound of it.
Well, theoretically, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was that. I did that.
I am baffled just thinking about it. I've baffled myself. I've saffled.
And then really the only other thing I need to talk about in terms of things I played, there's been this thing going around on YouTube, I guess, or streamers have been playing it recently.
Hot right now.
Yep, it's hot right now. Maybe we can make a video of this. I don't know though.
Is it just going to get flooded out?
But it's a fan game Pokemon.
No,
that is like, well, it's called Infinite Fusions, which might tell you what it's about. you confuse any Pokemon to any other Pokemon, combining their moves and their like types and their abilities and all that.
Okay, the most important part of this is visually, how does that look?
Exactly. So that's the thing. So if you counted up all the fusions, there's like 170,000 different Pokemon that you can make by fusing all the different Pokemon with every other Pokemon.
Right. So okay. So the limit is just one on base with one base.
Yes.
Okay.
And the way it auto generates the sprites in most cases, but there's also been like a community effort to basically do sprite work for it.
I see.
So there's like 20,000 actual sprites at this point.
Wow.
For a variety of different combinations.
Also, I really want to know how they generated the other ones. Did they like get AI to be like, oh, what if like Charmander and like Mr. Mime had a baby?
The AI fusion method has already been around for quite a while. Like it used to be on a website that did it.
Okay.
Because the way it works is that it combines the body shape of one and then basically the head and sometimes arms of the other, or like limbs, like hands and feet and fins and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So it's like the body shape of one and then the face of the other and then like the limbs of the other.
Okay.
And the color schemes of one or the other.
I can see how that would work.
You can see how that would work, but when you actually, some combinations do not work very well at all. Sometimes hilariously, sometimes horrifyingly.
That's what I'm there for.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the whole thing is about. And then, of course,
it's the fun.
Even in the, like, when the sprite work has been done, sometimes it's sort of intentionally made ridiculous in the way that the auto-generated one would have done. Where it's just like, this still looks like it's pretty much just this other Pokemon's head slapped on here, but at least the pixel art is, like, properly done.
So what, like, sprite work have they been pulling from to, like, as a starting point?
Well, it's based on, the actual last generation of Pokemon that was sprites, I suppose, which would have been, like, Generation 5 when they all still had sprite work.
What, like, DS? Or did 3DS still have?
I mean, maybe the first 3DS
I guess it depends what's in the Pokedex, right? Because the Pokedex would always be a sprite. Or...
Yeah. Well, no, modern Pokedexes use the 3D models.
Oh, do they?
But it would have been like, I don't remember whether X or Y, or because it would have at least been black and white, would still have had them.
Okay. Anyway, there's a cutoff.
Yeah. Although it seems like maybe in a few cases where it's a particular popular Pokemon, even one they did specific sprites for Pokemon from the future, essentially.
Okay.
That would have been backported in.
So it does mean our living pile of garbage is there.
Well, Garbodor, yes.
And pile of swine.
Oh, actually, I don't know if it is, now that I think about it. I've never seen it in any of the videos I've watched of this, and I would expect people would have been looking for it if it did exist.
I mean...
Pile of swine, yes. That does exist.
Yeah, pile of swine, definitely. And my boy Sudowoodo, of course.
Yep, match. Imagine that face on anything else.
Yeah, boy.
My boy Sudowoodo.
But yeah, I don't know if we could make a video of that. So I mean,
I just want to see the most fucked up images that thing can generate.
Yes, and also the other, thing that it does for combining Pokemon is combining the names, which of course is hilarious. It just cuts the name in half and takes the front half of one and the back half of the other.
Oh yeah,
which means the first wild Pokemon.
Pikawudo.
Yeah, pretty much. The first Pokemon I ran into was a combination of Pichu and Gloom, otherwise known as Pew.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Although you do run into problems with the Pokemon called Shinx and any Pokemon that has a T in the middle of its name.
Huh. Okay.
Which is pretty funny. And also, visually, in terms of auto-generated sprites, don't combine Execute with anything.
Oh, well.
You remember Execute, the Pokemon that's just a bunch of eggs?
Is that yeah, I was about to say it's 3 eggs, isn't it?
Eggs.
Oh, no, is it the one that's like a ring of eggs? Or
no, it's like a bunch of it. The tree, where it evolves into the coconut tree, basically.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
But it's just a big pile of eggs.
Yeah.
Which then in the auto-generation basically just turns into a pile of heads. Because it's just putting the face of the other Pokemon on there.
That's brilliant. That's the worst.
Yep, it really is.
Oh,
I mean, I want a Psyxecute. Like a Psyduck.
A Psyduck head.
Coming at you. Or just bits of leek. Just coming at you.
Not sure that's how that works.
From Farfetch'd or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's Farfetch'd, isn't it? Sorry, not Psyduck, yeah.
No, I don't think I'm not sure the leek gets pulled. It might do as a limb, maybe. Maybe. I don't think I've seen any Farfetch'd combos out of that.
Exafetch'd.
But yeah, so the reason why I guess it might be sort of bearable as a Pokemon game to make a video of is because it's a fan game, not a ROM hack. It has like built-in speed up and stuff.
Okay.
And it also has a built-in randomizer, which also makes it more interesting.
Yeah, how long is this thing going to last until Nintendo catches wind and is just like, well, I mean, you guys need to stop?
A lot of ROM hacks and fan games hang around. Like, I don't know. I mean, they can't sell them or anything.
No.
Obviously. And on the other hand, the slight problem with it being a fan game and not a ROM hack is like it's kind of jank, and a lot of the sound effects and music are all kinds of like the music doesn't properly loop; it just fades out and repeats, and like sounds are all kind of different volumes and stuff because the normalizing hasn't been done well enough or whatever.
Right.
But apart from that, it seems to be pretty functional as a Pokemon game.
So you might argue it's a bit early in the process.
Well, sure. I don't know how long this has actually been around.
So
it's only become famous at this point.
Okay, key question: like, do you have to fuse things, or does any one of these 170 odd thousand or whatever you said, like variants, just exist in the world?
Well, that's dependent on the randomizer settings.
Oh,
if you play
so you can choose.
If you play it without the randomizer, it puts like 90% of wild Pokemon are just normal Pokemon, but then occasionally there'll be a fused one.
Huh.
But then if you just turn on the randomizer, you can set it to so that everything is always fused.
You just pick from any of them.
Yeah.
The pure breeds are the rare ones.
Yeah. And then there's also like the randomizer has settings for like how random. Like, do you want it to be like randomized so that the progression is still the same? So like you're fighting Pidgeys and Caterpies and whatnot at the start, and then it gradually gets stronger. Or do you want full randomization where you can find anything immediately?
Anywhere. Wow. Okay.
Which might make it impossible to actually progress. But...
Yeah. So it's based on... Wait, so the progression is like based on like red and blue then? Or like...
I mean, the game is basically... I mean, the remake...
That's a stupid question because they're all the same.
You don't know. Well, it's based on, I guess, the remakes of Red and Green.
Okay. Right.
So it's got the... You start in Pallet Town and do the whole red world, but then it also has the gold and silver maps.
Okay. So it is basically just map stealing then.
Yeah, I mean it's basically an asset rip of red and green or whatever.
Which makes it even more likely to be shut down.
Yep.
I guess.
But like I said, most of these ROM hacks... I mean, you'd think the ROM hacks would get shut down faster. Mainly because they require you to have a ROM.
True, yeah. But then it's trademark infringement if it's like actually just straight up asset ripping.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, don't sell it for whatever you do.
Don't sell it. Well, that's never stopped Nintendo before.
Sure. But it's not technically Nintendo. It's a Pokemon company.
I guess.
Maybe they're a bit more lenient.
Yeah, or slow.
Like maybe they just don't pay attention.
Download now.
But yeah, I mean, it's been making the rounds recently. Everyone's been going for it. And,
that does sound hilarious.
That's the fun of it. Is like, you can watch anyone do it and it's always got different shit.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And yes, you can fuse them yourself and you can unfuse them. So like basically in the way I was playing with the randomizer turned up to like medium, but everything is always fused. So it's like you're fighting low level Pokemon
as if it's low level fusions.
But they're fusions. And then it's just like, then you just, once you catch them and they go into the Pokemon box in the computer, you can just unfuse them and then recombine them with whatever the hell you want.
Oh, wow. So it's, once you've caught the, oh yeah. So it's quite easy in theory to catch them all, quote unquote, but then you can mess with it
yes, you can just make them into whatever you want. And it also has a nice feature where like when you're doing the fusion, you pick the two that you're going to fuse, but then it pops up a thing to let you choose the order, because like the order you fuse them determines what types they get because pretty much everything is dual typed now. All normal Pokemon are dual typed, right. But when you fuse them, it's like the head one gives you the first type, and the body one gives you the second type. Yeah. So that can change what types you get. But then on that screen where you're picking which way round you want to fuse them, that also shows you whether it's got a custom sprite or not, or an auto-generated sprite.
Oh, so it's explicitly labelled as in this is a gen one.
Yeah. So if you're looking for the slightly cooler looking custom sprites, you can see it in there. In fact, I think there's actually an option in the randomizer to make it so it only lets you have Pokemon with custom sprites if you want to filter out all the procedural ones.
Well, it depends how good the procedural ones are.
Well, as I said, they can sometimes be okay and sometimes be completely horrifying.
But I want that. I think I'm in for that. Oh man. Okay, so Zach coming at us with 2 pretty compelling video ideas.
Reasonably compelling.
Nice, yeah.
So we get to that at some point, possibly.
Just need to remember your password and you'll be sorted.
Well, for Steam, not for Pokemon. That is clearly not on Steam.
Yeah,
clearly.
That will just be me bringing a folder on a USB drive over here, probably.
Nice.
Apparently, it's made in RPG Maker, which I can extremely believe.
Oh, right,
yeah, of course.
And I think that's pretty much all I did. That's the whole 2 weeks. And I didn't even play either of those nearly as much as a whole 2 weeks would imply.
What's this Pokemon game called again? Is it
Infinite Fusion?
Infinite Fusion, okay. Amazing.
Infinite Fusion. Wow. Cool. Rob, what have you been playing?
Atomic Heart, apparently.
Yeah, let's roll straight into that. So I didn't fall off it after the opening 2 hours, and if I'm being honest, I'm kind of glad I didn't. Like, it's a hideous opening to that game. Like, it's
right.
like the first few hours of it are rough and hard and not easy to get a grip on. And the writing is at its worst at the start of the game, for sure. It doesn't get a whole bunch better. Like, the writing is still... Even though, like... Okay, I shouldn't say, like, even Gnome. She sat in the room, like, the writing is the easiest thing of games is the easiest thing for her to judge, right?
Yeah.
But, like, it's got to the point where I mean, she hated the first few hours. Like, she thought it was like, this is probably the worst thing I've seen you play for a while. And I kind of agreed with her. But, like, it's got to the point where the story has progressed so far. Like, our lead character has learned a whole bunch of information. His relationship with Charles, the glove, improves, so they're not constantly he's just not constantly like just making terrible glove insults the whole time. They eventually do start getting on, which makes that a whole lot more bearable. But my God, is he an idiot? Like your character is such an doofus, and it's like to the point where it's just like, doesn't he know that conspiracy X, conspiracy Y, conspiracy Z? Like, doesn't he realize all of this is incredibly likely at this point? And they're like, no, apparently he does not.
He has information, he just doesn't put things together.
Yeah. He hears all this stuff constantly, and then just seems to be... He's such a weird character, because he's like super meathead, like American, like patriotism almost, except for Russia.
Right,
like,
I was about to say.
Yeah,
presumably not American patriotism,
but not like, yeah, it's like American patriotism. Like that's that thing we're very much used to, but for Russia and for communism and for like. But he's also like he'll occasionally just look at a thing and be like, "That's so beautiful," and it's like, it just seems like such a weird, like, or get suddenly deep and meaningful about certain subjects, and it's like it's such a weird like mix of like, I don't know who you are, like it just doesn't never gels together particularly well.
Doesn't compute,
yeah. He's such a confusing, and on top of that, all of it, he's just a moron. I've got to the point in the story where he does seem to finally be realizing something's a bit wrong, like and making decisions for himself. But still, it's like it's taken a long time for him to get to that point. It's just like, oh, come on, man.
What I hear, you're probably not going to like how it ends then.
Yeah, I've heard the endings are kind of rubbish, and there's like multiple endings, and you can. But I've heard it's a bit of a dial-in ending.
Well, I mean, like that certainly, but I more meant like how his character is going to interact with the ending. From what I hear, it's probably not going to be good.
The good thing is that I think I found the loop in this game that I like. Like, so once you get out of the opening few hours and it opens up a bit, you get put into a world, and you like the outside area, and you can sort of walk around the surface. Basically, you're not in a facility underground, and it's like that in itself isn't the good bit. I was actually starting to lose my rag a little bit with it when I was started to do that stuff, because it's like, oh shit! Like, so on top of it being all of that, it's another fucking open world game. But actually, the open world stuff is actually not. It's not a huge world, so it's like it's fairly constrained, and it's like it's all designed, and like the intent of what I've actually found like quite interesting about it is like it's quite puzzle heavy actually. So you end up like some of the most fun I've had with this game is just there are these areas scattered around the place called testing grounds, which are 100% optional, but you can. You go into them, and then they're basically like little puzzle dungeons, sometimes with a little combat challenge as well. And you go through them to unlock blueprints for stuff you can craft to expand your weaponry and stuff like that. But those are like actually pretty well done. Like the puzzles they don't have a huge number of mechanics, but they're kind of strange places to go into because sometimes they're like the way you get into them can sometimes be really involved. Like you've got to be like finding certain tricks in the environment to be like, how do I actually even get in here? I know it's here because the map tells me it's here, and I've clearly found the building it's in. But how do I open this door? And the things you then have to go and do to then actually open that door can vary reasonably. So it doesn't actually get tedious going and actually finding how to get into these places, and it's.
Right.
It kind of works. It kind of hooks you in. Like, and also it got to the point where the combat wasn't so like super arduous. Like I just felt like I was getting like worked most of the time. I was surviving, but like I wasn't really gelling with the combat. But I think I've got my character now to a point where he's now stronger, and the combat hasn't got particularly harder, so none of that feels as bad as it did once before. That's not necessarily a huge like glowing mark for the game, but it's like I've just. Like the combat now feels more fun because I'm more powerful.
And now we're just waiting for the big dudes with riot shields to turn up or something.
I mean, there's definitely guys with shields.
Sure. Yeah. Like that's the classic like Spider-Man or whatever. Where it's like you're starting to learn the combat. Now have the tanky enemy that just makes it really inconvenient.
Although it's given me the achievement for I've apparently scanned every mob it could like in the game.
Right.
Like, the achievement is explicitly worded like that. So I'm like, okay, have I seen every enemy now? And there's just going to be lots of them. But like,
or maybe elite ones.
Yeah, I don't know. Where this game really shines, though, is its ability to weave in the weird. Like, it's not as weird as I was hoping, but there are certain scenes and certain not in terms of gameplay really, but like there are certain scenes and certain setups where they do stuff with the scenario and in particular the music, where you're just like, okay, this is pretty rad at this point. Like, for instance, the last session I played, I had to do a standard, like, oh, you've got to stay here and wait for a thing to happen whilst a whole bunch of, like, zombie-like creatures come at you. Doesn't sound particularly weird on paper, but there's this bit of operatic music playing it because you're doing it whilst an opera is being performed in front of you.
Right.
And you're waiting for this robot ballerina to do their thing, and then they don't just stop there. They don't just do the opera thing. They play the opera music, and then at some point they've got this like conceit that they've developed quantum technology that can listen to music that might happen in the future. So even though this game is like set in the 50s or something like that, it's like all the music is like super modern and super funky.
Right.
So they'll turn the opera into something really fucking cool and just like have you doing this fight in this theater with like rad like operatic remix going on, and it's
the Fifth Element, basically.
Yeah, kind of. Like it just has these little moments strewn about it where it's like where on almost every single one of them, it's the music that elevates the experience and just makes it something special. And it can be rad as hell. That said, boy, this game could do with another like 6 months of polish or something. It is
right.
It's pretty glitchy. I've been stuck on numerous occasions in the environment and have had to reload. like which always sucks. It's like I'm just trying to jump over this little bit of rock. Oh, I'm falling forever on this bit of rock and now can no longer move. Great. Reload. I've had the game crash on me like 3 or 4 times, like full on hard crash to dashed, which is no good. And the game doesn't like auto save particularly well. Like it's not a thing it does. It will auto save, but very rarely. So you're encouraged to save yourself at save points as well. So you can't just like quick save and quick load and all that stuff. So if it happens, it can be quite annoying. Plenty of LOD problems in places of the game as well. So you could be walking up to a bench. That bench will disappear as if the LOD level has been set at the wrong point, and then you'll walk away from it again, bench. And it'll appear back into the world. I've seen that with like light fittings and things like that. Like the LOD can be really weird at times. I sort of went out of my way because they've released Volume 1 of the soundtrack on Spotify as well. I would recommend giving that a listen. It's pretty cool. Like they
really,
as far as
just apart from the game,
yeah. Like it's I think what the style they've gone for is they've taken classic Russian songs, like old Russian songs by like Russian, actually pretty famous folk Russian singers in places, and just let electronic artists go wild with it and be like, here, this is my take on it. And with one of the most prominent artists being Jeff Plays Guitar. And I think Mick Gordon did a lot of the like score of the game, not these like remixes and things like that. So it's and presumably there's more volumes to be released because Mick's stuff supposedly isn't in the one you can listen to on Spotify just yet. But yeah, some of it's pretty cool. I ended up in a weird scenario once where I was clearing out an area of stuff. And it has an alarm mechanic. So these cameras called dandelions all over the place. And if they see you for too long, they raise a level 1 alarm, which is fine. That just summons stuff in the area to your position.
Sure.
If you get seen attacking something on camera, that raises that alert level to 2, and so extra stuff can turn up. So that happened to me once while I was fighting this area that had none of the robot like systems running in it, but like just had mutants about. So it elevated it to alarm level 2, but I'd killed everything in the area. So what happened is this alarm level just stayed on, and I got this rad music playing whilst I was doing nothing. It's like I'm just being super casual in this little town, but while this badass music plays. It's like, it's weird, and I kind of love it.
It doesn't do the classic Deus Ex. You can tell when the enemies have lost sight of you because the music changes to.
I mean, it does do that, but it's not as instant or as obvious at places as I might like, especially in the early game. Like, I don't think the enemies make enough noise to make it obvious that they're coming for you. I have that problem with it. So. Mm-hmm. It's weirdly easier to hear, like, especially the humanoid robots walking around when they're just walking around. They sort of make these, like, servo noises of when they go into combat mode, suddenly they go really quiet. And, like, they move, like, with, like, no servo noise and just come at you and, like, it's
stealth mode.
Yeah, it's really strange. And I don't think the game does that particularly well. So, the audio of something, of things in the world actually realizing your presence can be quite annoying because you'll be like, oh, what the hell just shot at me? What's going on? Quite a lot. There's like just enough weird here to keep me in. But the writing still sucks, and the story I think is a bit and the polish is in places lacking. But there is just enough here to make me kind of like it, despite everything. I kind of like it. It's like, that's a weird thing to say after last week. I don't know if I've had that much of a turnaround before.
Yeah, well, it's good to give these things a chance, isn't it?
And I had given it a chance. I was like several hours into it last time, thinking this blows. And now I've come around on it. It's a weird one. It's definitely a weird one.
Well, it's always good to hear. Stick with it or don't. But I mean, now you know.
It's still interesting. Yeah. I was kind of worried for a long time during these last 2 weeks that it was going to hideously outstay its welcome, but I think it's actually going to wrap up quicker than I thought. It's not a short game, and I think it perhaps could have benefited from streamlining a lot. Like, maybe focus in a little more so they could do more of the polish. Maybe they didn't need quite so much open world. That kind of just shrink it. Like, if it was maybe like 60 to 50%, yeah, maybe take I don't know, somewhere between a third and a quarter of it, just trim that out. Maybe take half the intro off. I don't know. This would probably be a better experience. I think it's one of those. But that said, it's not the biggest. It's not a Ubisoft game.
Yeah, we've got infinite map icons.
No, you definitely don't have that because there's not that much to do in the open world. Yeah, so that is Atomic Heart. That's probably the only sort of like modern game I've really been playing.
Have you gone retro otheres? Is it?
I've been sticking to
on
my
the anti-crab kick.
Yeah.
So stick to it.
So I stuck with Wipeout Fusion as well. I've got to the point where I fully upgraded one of the ships for one of my pilots, and that's how you unlock the second level pilots. So I'm now grinding cash to upgrade that one as well. But I gotta say, that game gets much worse as the speed increases and as the difficulty increases. The later track designs in particular all kind of suck. They're all like too wiggly and don't really fit with the mechanics for how you drive. I think I may have mentioned that before in this detail. But what I'm not sure I'd really touched on last time was just like that game gets increasingly glitchy as the speed increases. Like there's one level in particular where if you take a route, you're taking your life into your hands. There's just a really good chance you will just die for no reason at all. You'll just drive along what is pretty much a flat bit of track. Although they've got these stupid fucking doors that close randomly. Well, they're supposed to open when you get near them, so I don't know if that's what's causing it. But you can just die. You can be on full health or pretty much no damage, and you can just die. That's no good if you're in the middle of a championship, and it's it has
definitely not.
It has a no restart policy on its championships, and the league is how you do most of the progression through this game, and so you're at risk of just having a 0-point race on this course in particular. So it's, I specifically try and avoid that route because it's I might die. I've fallen through the level when a quake has come and hit me. So I've just fallen out of the bottom of the track.
Oh, the quake comes and then you just go under.
You just go under the track.
And that's it.
I've fallen off a loop and just flown into nothingness for a while until the game realised, oh wait, you're not supposed to be here. One time that worked in my advantage where I accidentally... I got hit by a weapon, and for some reason that pinged me outside the boundary of the track, and that then teleported me quite a long way ahead in the lap. So I won that one quite easily. It's the most glitchy a Wipeout game I think I've ever seen, which is a bit of a bummer because, I don't know. I think the mid period I've had with Wipeout Fusion was really good. When it was running at its mid tier. Let's call it. I don't know, what do they call it? Venom to rapier level.
Yeah.
Then it was
it was singing. At that point.
It was all right. It didn't have the cool factor that Wipeout usually carries with it, but it played pretty well. But as soon as you hit Phantom grade or whatever is above Phantom, subsonic or whatever they end up calling it in zone mode. It starts to fall apart quite badly. So I might be very close to being done with my time with it because the only thing I can think of doing is grinding money. You gain money out of doing the championship races, and then you can spend that money on upgrading ships. The only thing I can really think of doing at the moment is trying to grind out championships for enough money to perhaps fully upgrade another ship, but the end of the upgrade trees for these ships are super expensive to the point where you can probably do a whole 7 races and probably only get 2 pips of upgrades when there's like 20 in total on most ships. And it's I don't know if I can be asked to grind it that much. And it's very clearly like I can't even take like a lower to make it more interesting. I can't even take a lower level ship into the championships at the level of it, because the game doesn't really give you much idea of what level you need a ship to be at in order to do the championships. You just sort of get in there and be like, I'm outclassed, right? Clearly the ship I'm flying is not good enough for this. So you have to then go back a few steps in the championship if you want to fly something different. And then you don't earn as much money. So it's like, even at your attempts at trying to make the grind more interesting are probably not a good idea. Yeah, it sort of falls apart. And I don't understand the zone mode in it. Like I said before, like this was the first game that had zone in it.
Yeah, the first ever zone.
And it doesn't let me play anything but the first zone level. I don't quite know why. I don't know what I have to do to make it so it will let me pick the others.
Oh, weird. What, like you expecting to unlock them, but
well, they're there. They're like pretty much most things in the game like don't get listed until you've unlocked them. And the other zone options are there. It just like when you press X on them, it just makes a noise.
Helpful.
Or it's not clear that they're not unlocked, and it's like, yeah, it's weird. Like I don't understand what that's about. Yeah, it's a Wipeout Fusion. Like I probably should have stopped earlier. That's what I'm saying. I would have carried a better opinion of it had I stopped earlier. The weird thing about Wipeout Fusion is it reviewed really well. Like I went and checked it out. Like back in the day,
really?
like Wipeout Fusion actually reviewed pretty goddamn well. And I'm like, did nobody play up to this part of the game?
Probably not. That's probably why.
Yeah.
The reviews didn't get that far.
Yeah, it's just, what an odd thing. So I treated myself.
Right.
I started playing Wipeout 3 Special Edition.
Okay. Oh, treat yourself.
Treat yourself. Treat myself.
Wipeout 3. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself.
Fine leather goods.
Okay, so slight problem straight from the off, though, is I don't know if my PlayStation... I think I mentioned it earlier. Did we talk about it earlier in this podcast?
Yep.
Yeah. My PlayStation 2 and my OSSC combo, I don't know quite what's going on, but it doesn't run perfectly. Something goes a little bit awry, and you get a weird frame hitch every now and then that doesn't look right, and you can feel it, and it's a little bit weird. It's not something I've seen in the other PlayStation 1 games I've played with this setup either. It seems to just affect... It might be a specific PlayStation 1 resolution output that seems to cause this problem. Anyway, I don't know if it's the PS2 or the OSSC. I bet it's the OSSC not dealing with it. So I'm going to try the PS1 just in case. I've got the real PS1 out. I'll give that a go. But anywho, man, I sodding love Wipeout 3. It's like what a fantastic game that is. It's weird because returning to it, it's one of those things where I think I've got slightly fonder memories of it than perhaps it really deserves, because because it is a great game, but in a weird way when you play, especially when you play through the Wipeout 3 tracks on it, there's a certain sparseness to it that like I knew it was a little bit sparse, but like because that's the design they were going for, but it is quite sparse and like sometimes pretty soulless. Like it's just buildings and solid surfaces, whereas like I don't know, that 2097 might have had a little more flair to its, or waviness I guess, to its track design and things like that. This feels much more industrial, but clean industrial. Like it's taken like a half step towards Mirror's Edge, kind of.
Right? Yeah. But obviously, way before Mirror's Edge. Yeah.
Oh yeah, obviously. But Yeah, because it looked like the textures are almost less detailed intentionally, so like more solid colors and things like that. But I think it really works for it, because it's, especially on the PlayStation 1 hardware, like, because it creates a really clean looking image and a really clean looking game for the PlayStation, which is saying something. And I love the way the engine flares look, because they've done away with the sort of like traditional looking lens flare and made really sharp, like pointy vector triangles. Is how the sort of engines look, and like really sharp trails that come out the back, and oh my god, that soundtrack! It is so good. Going back and hearing it, and it's quite intense, I think, compared to like actually the other Wipeout games. It's like it's full on all the time.
Yeah.
And
because this was like the big UK dance kind of launch, where it was all combined with a bunch of DJs and things.
Oh
right?
sure,
and
I mean Sasha did most of the soundtrack to this.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Sasha was huge at the time. And
it's like a cultural moment, wasn't it? When Wipeout 3 came out, that was kind of unique for video games. Yeah.
It's a big deal. I mean, Chemical Brothers Return, Orbital are on it, Underworld are on it. It's, Future Sound of London, I think, are on it. Oh no, were they on this one? No, they were on the previous ones. I don't know if Future Sound made it into this one. Propeller Heads are on it though. With an absolute banger. Yeah, what a soundtrack. I mean, it sounds great as well. Corrections column. So I thought...
Oh, yeah.
I previously said that in Wipeout Fusion, this was the game where they changed how the pickup and warning sounds worked. Right? Because in Wipeout 2097, like, it just played a noise when you got a pickup and you got the icon, but it would read out what was coming at you.
Yeah.
Like, missile, plasma bolt. They changed that in Wipeout 3, not in Wipeout Fusion. Like, so it reads what you pick up, and just says warning when something's coming at you.
But that's changed back in like the PSP ones.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, I think it changed back. I mean, I'm doubting myself now. I'm gonna have to go back and play those. But it's a better implementation than Wipeout Fusions, because Wipeout Fusion seems to suffer from everything being, all the vocal bits being just that little bit too long. So like by the time you want to hear it, because it very slowly says warning incoming when something's coming at you. It's like, whereas in Wipeout 3 it just like the robot lady just goes warning, like really quickly. And it's like, and if loads of stuff is coming at you, then it will be like warning. like you're like, oh okay, right. And look, there's a whole bunch of stuff coming.
I need to pay attention to this.
But which is also weird, because it's probably the weakest weapon set in the series, if I'm being brutally honest.
Right.
Like, it is very defensive focused. Like, there's more. There's two different types of shield, which is slightly odd. There's because you get the basic shield, but there's also the reflector, which I guess is supposed to bounce weaponry back at you, but you can never tell. Like, I don't quite understand how that is. And like so even the offensive weaponry is a lot simpler. I don't think you get the plasma anymore. I think it introduced the energy drain, which doesn't work half the time because the AI will just shield out of it. So you never really get to use it all that much. Still has pit lanes at this point. And the turbo is gone, which is the kind of the interesting thing with this game. Like, they got rid of the turbo power up, which I think has been in every Wipeout except this one. And in its place is the hyper thrust. So you can hold down R1 and it will burn your shield at like an incredible rate. But you get a ridiculous amount of speed boost out of it if you keep it held. So the interesting part of this game is the balancing act between your shield levels and the amount of boost you want to use. And you're going to need it if you want to win these races, because this game seems so much harder than the others.
Oh, interesting.
Like, even at the slower speed levels, actually winning races is tricky.
So does that mean like a shield is actually a speed boost because that allows you to burn shield? Or
Oh, no. Like, your hyper thrust will still burn you. Yeah. Well, you've got the shield on.
Your energy, yeah. But I just mean
your energy.
that allows you to risk the hyper thrust.
I guess, yeah, because you'll still get damaged like by hyper thrusting with a shield power up on, but you're not going to get hit by the weaponry or or take damage from slamming into something.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but because the progression in this game is different as well. They really want you to gold medal every combination of things. Like, so every ship, every track, every speed class. That's what they want you to do, and it tracks it all, and you can see it all really easily on the grid. So you go into a speed class and you're like, oh, why have I only got four tracks? And it's like, okay, so I need to get a gold medal on each one of those 4 tracks with the same ship, and then it will unlock the 5th, and then you get a gold medal on that one with the same ship. It's like you have to imagine it like a grid of medals, right? And as you push one line of winning a winning streak along the map, that makes the grid larger in that direction. So, say I like Auracom's ship. If I win 4 golds with Auracom, then the fifth track unlocks. And if they win that one, then the 6th track unlocks in that speed class. If you want more ships, you've then got to work the grid the other way. I've got to win with the base 4 ships on the same track, and then it will push the grid downwards. So I unlock the 5th ship, and then I've got to take the 5th ship and go on that same track and do it again, and then I get the 6th track. It really wants you to just like play with it and use all of what it has to offer, and I quite like that, but it is quite demanding. In terms of progression. And clearly I was really into this at one point, because it's like, I've pretty much like, I've ignored every part of the grid apart from like rapier mode, apparently, where I've like just utterly golded this thing. And I've gone back and tried to do that myself now, and it's like, wow, that's quite hard to do. And let alone like Phantom, which exists as well, which I clearly was struggling with back in the day when I was playing this all the time as well. Man, this game's cool. I just need to find out how to play it at perfectly.
At that level.
Yeah.
Right, with the perfect performance, yeah.
Perfect performance, perfect setup.
Are you going to try and tweak your setup? Or?
Yeah. As I say, I'm going to try it on a PlayStation 1. That's my route at this point.
See that's the gold standard,
Yeah, see if that makes it actually work. If it doesn't, then I might be out of ideas. I mean, emulation. Obviously, it's PlayStation 1, so it emulates real well. But it is the problem with PlayStation 3 Special Edition is that it is a Europe-only release, so there's only a 50 hertz version of the game, which can cause problems if you try and emulate it on PCs, right? Because it will only run at 25 frames. Which won't get on with most people's displays. You're going to have little hitches, and it's going to feel worse than it really is. So maybe I need to like. Fortunately, this monitor I'm running can tune to 100 hertz, so maybe that would. Maybe that would smooth it out for me. But if I ever wanted to capture it for video purposes, that might be a bit of an ask. I don't know. Can YouTube do like 25 FPS or 50 FPS signal?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Might prove a bit of a challenge.
Sure. Cool, that would be a good one, though. We'll figure it out.
I mean, I've been saying for a while I'd quite like to do a future racing series because there's a whole bunch of stuff we could do, but it's just how interesting that is for you guys.
Well, you should do it yourself as well.
Yeah,
you can do videos by yourself as well.
I could just do it myself.
Yeah, I'd be up for getting involved in that, just as long as I think if we zoom through them, as it were,
zoom
that could be good, rather than lingering on one for an hour.
Yeah, maybe we do a little pros and cons. Unless they're weird and interesting ones, but I don't know. I don't quite know, because you're right. It's like maybe it's not that interesting to linger on a racing game for too long, but we sort of made it work with episode 1 Racer, so
Yeah, that one. Well, that one has a bunch of weird memes for us, I suppose, in that one. But yeah, I think we could do a series, a small mini series on anti-grav would be cool. Or sorry, Future Racer.
Future Racer. Well, yeah, Future Racing expands it to like things like grip and
right, yeah.
Games that aren't strictly hovercraft, but you could keep it anti-grav if you wanted. That's fine too. Pod. Pod would fall into Future Racing.
Did you guys do Blur or whatever?
We've done Blur. Yeah, you can watch that now
Blur.
on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, check it out on YouTube.
I fucking love Blur. Blur is an excellent video game.
I was just thinking of like semi-futuristic, like not really. I don't know.
I mean, that's not really, is it? It's just
it's just a kart. Kind of, I don't know what it is.
It's a kart racer with real cars.
Yeah. Lego 2K Drive.
not even the was it the F1? Was it the F1 Race Stars, whatever that game was called, where Codemasters made a kart racer out of F1 people?
Right.
That game was pretty good. Big heads.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. Yep. Michael Schumacher's massive head.
Oh yeah, that was dumb.
It's a pretty good game. The only other thing I can think of right now that I want to talk about is I went back to Splatoon 3.
Okay.
Because they gave Salmon Run some minor love.
Did we not talk about this last time?
We talked about it.
Right.
We didn't talk about it on the podcast. Yeah, they've added a new King Salmonid to Salmon Run. So instead of the big fat guy that just flumps around the level, there's a giant worm that swims around literally around the level that you can shoot at instead. And it drops just massive bombs on the level every now and then. Hey, it's a minor update to Salmon Run. I'll take it. Doesn't really change all that much, but
no new level.
No new level. Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, the main Splatoon has gained 2 more maps in this time, and
have we caught back up to how many maps are in Splatoon 2 yet?
Yeah, we probably have actually.
Okay,
because one of them is one of them brings back is it what's it called? Flounder Heights, which is a Splatoon 1 map, and that's kind of an interesting level, kind of vertical, but not like the really awkward one with all the zigzag paths. And Umami Ruins, I think, is a brand new level and is quite fun as well. I quite like that level as well. So the new maps are good. And there's a Splatfest next weekend, so I'm going to be playing more of it. I could remember to actually be involved in this.
If you remember.
Yeah, apparently the only problem I had with Splatfest is, Splatoon, sorry, at the moment, is that I had a pretty miserable time playing the main game the other night. Like, I think I've mentioned this in the last few times I've played Splatoon 3 and tried to play it like the proper game and not Salmon Run.
Right.
And that it's just something is off and it just doesn't feel right half the time, like with the hit detection, with the way weapons work. There's an inconsistency to how everything seems to feel, and I can't put my finger on it. And I'm willing to accept those games where I've been paired with people that are way better than me, because the Splatoon community, I've not been playing for a while. I know I'm not great at multiplayer games anymore. I'm too old. Too old. I have aged. Yes, I'm not. I've aged out of multiplayer shooters, really. But there should, it's Splatoon, right? There should be a level where I can still have fun. Like I can't just be in a crowd of excellent players. This can't be how this worked out, right? It's a Nintendo game. There must still be casual shootists like me.
Well, maybe, I don't know, because it always seemed like in all of the Splatoons it filtered down to the hardcore pretty quickly.
Yeah. Splatoon makes it really difficult to tell if you're being absolutely rocked by good players versus it not working anyway. It's that line is harder to tell. That's just the Nintendo problem. Yeah, that line is harder to tell. There's definitely games where I was getting rocked by a fucking asshole sniper or something with perfect aim. That definitely happens, and it's this is the most frustrating thing ever. But there are definitely times where it's just like, okay, I'm shooting this guy and he's not dying. It's not doing the hit detection sound. It's not doing the thing. And then you'll, out of nowhere, just explode and it doesn't look like there's anyone around. And I'm pretty sure for the first time ever in the series, I had an invisible guy. We're just seeing shots coming out of nowhere. And I was in profile with him before anyone else. It's not like the shots were coming at me over an obstacle. I was just looking down upon a flattish area on Mako Mall and Mako Mall. I don't know what that. I forget what that was. The mall, and just shots appeared to be coming out of nowhere. And it's like that is the first time that has ever happened to me in a Splatoon game. And I've seen it once and I've never seen it again. And there's like that filled me with dread about the quality of like how Splatoon 3 handles, just in general. And so I had a pretty miserable evening playing it and then had a much better session the following day. But who knows? Like, is it just the fact that I use my Switch on Wi-Fi and is the Switch just bad at Wi-Fi?
No,
like, I
you
don't know.
need the LAN adapter.
Yeah.
For real
Do people
hardcore.
use that?
People do use
Is
that.
that what people do? Oh,
It does improve. It does improve your ping times. But I can't run a cable to where that is. Like I'm not gonna. Meh to it. Meh, I say.
But at least there's Salmon Run. That's
But
the
at
main
least there's
thing.
Salmon Run. Salmon Run is still fun. Just give me more Salmon Run, guys. Come on. Love your salmon.
Love that salmon.
And I suppose, yeah. That is me until maybe that DLC comes out. When, phase 2 of
The actual
when
DLC.
the actual DLC comes out. Yeah.
Cool.
And I can't think of anything else I've been playing.
We haven't even played Deep Rock.
No.
You haven't been played Dirk this week.
Yeah, I've been a bit a little.
I mean, I
A little out.
haven't really played it either. I played it a tiny bit, but not much. Still wait. I mean, like I said last time, I'm done with season 3. I'm just waiting for season 4, which just gives me slightly less incentive to play it.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, neither of us have really talked about the fact that we're still playing Hyrule Warriors. Definitive.
Well, I was reminded of that earlier when you were talking about LOD problems, because the first level of that game has LOD problems.
Yes, it does. But then so does like the follow-up. So does Age of Calamity has like the worst LOD problems.
But this one has the exact LOD problem you were talking about, where there's objects where as you get closer to them, they disappear.
Yes. Yeah. There's definitely like some of the barriers, right?
Yeah,
like,
that first level.
Yeah. Yes, that does happen.
But yes, we have been continuing to play that.
We're just trying to finish one of the pictures at this point, like to get
Just to see what happens.
Yeah,
if anything.
Like, does it mean anything?
And we have finally discovered how you get fairy food. Which is to not play the mode that you get the fairies in.
Yeah, that introduces it. Yeah. Just play regular ass missions. Like, yeah, probably good advice to go into adventure mode, get yourself a fairy, and then don't play adventure mode and go do the main story mode.
Like go into the adventure mode almost first to get a fairy so that you can level it up while you're doing the story, and then you'll have the...
Because you don't seem to find food, even though the game seems to suggest that you can find fairy food in pots or just generally like in adventure mode. It's like, no, that doesn't seem to work like that. You seem to have to go into a specific mission that may provide you with food. Because that happened that one time.
Well, I don't know about that. Like, we did find it in 2 or 3 of those. In fact, I would have said we found it in every mission that we played in story mode.
Oh, in story mode, yeah. But I mean, like in adventure mode, that like we only found food once, and I think it was like in a mission that specifically like had an icon for it on the map.
Are you sure? I don't remember that.
No, I'm not sure.
Like, I remember
we've done a lot of stabbing. But...
I remember the only like. You only find fairies in the missions that are marked as having fairies.
Sure.
We determined that for certain.
Yeah, and clothing for fairies.
Well, sure, yes.
Dress your fairy.
Yep. Give it some kind of stat bonus, maybe.
Get style buffs.
And then try and feed it this food to level it up, which will take forever, apparently, considering how many stat points you get per piece of food. And then even when you level it up, what does it what does it do apart from like the 10 level increments where it unlocks another skill slot that you can't use because you don't have the actual level?
The skill yet, because there seems to be some other like character traits you need to also level.
Well, I mean, that's linked to the food. So
yeah.
You just need way more food than it takes to get that unlock. Like you level up far enough to unlock that slot way before you have the stats from the food to let you put anything in that slot.
It's a weird game.
Yep. I mean, yes.
Age of Calamity hangs together a lot better.
Well, not super surprisingly.
Yeah. Well, a little surprisingly. Like they're still all Musos, and they don't necessarily all change that much between iterations.
Yes, but Nintendo helped them with Hyrule Warriors.
I guess yeah.
They added Nintendo polish, which meant taking out a lot of bullshit, basically.
I suppose that is true.
It would
and also, this is the third version of this game.
Well, yeah, that's true as well.
You think they'd have refined it?
Well, they probably have.
Oh, God.
Imagine how much worse it was originally.
I mean, how much better? Because there wouldn't be nearly as much content.
Well, I mean, that's
maybe.
Arguably whether it's better or worse.
Mm.
You know, it would be nice if they did make another one of this specific thing, not a Hyrule Warrior sequel. Because, like, the cool thing about it is the fact that you get all of the Zelda lore mixed together.
Sure.
Like, all the different characters from all the different universes. That's cool, but it would just be nice in a better game.
Yeah, so what if they took what they learned on Age of Calamity and made, like, a new Hyrule Warriors that was lore-spanning?
Yeah.
I mean, they've still got like Spirit Tracks and Minish Cap they could pull in that they don't really feature in this one. And
I mean, that is just basically Toon Link, though.
Sort of. But you know, like they could have different weapons. They could have
that would be where it would be different.
You could play as the Mother Chuffing Train.
And you know, in reality, Age of Calamity is technically the same as this game because a lot of the movesets in Age of Calamity are just the movesets of other characters from this game. Like, Ruto is basically the same as Mipha. There you go, I got it eventually.
Yeah, yes, you're right. They're pretty similar.
It is basically that same moveset. She has the same, well, not exactly the same, but similar like combos or finishes or whatever.
There's a vibe.
She's not a healer in this game, unlike in Age of Calamity, which was our backup tactic for when things were too difficult.
Yeah.
The heal sphere.
It's also worth noting that like the difficulty spike from hard mode to hero mode is extreme.
Well, yes, but we're also not like using good weapons, mainly because like.
Well, we're not quite sure how we get better weapons.
The weapon progression seems extremely slow again.
Yeah,
of course,
and
we're not sure like what the point of transferring the skills is, and whether it's even possible to change the stats at all, or whether you do have to just rely on finding good.
It doesn't have the classic weapon fusion system that,
or at least as far as we can tell,
has. Yeah. But yeah, it's a strange thing, but it's still fun to play. Like I still kind of enjoy it. Like, but I definitely find I think I hit my limit with it after like a couple hours or so because I think that game like, at a certain point it is quite mindless to the point where I actually just start falling asleep.
Well, we're playing it last thing night, yes.
Yeah, sure, but like even I don't think it's necessarily my natural tiredness level. Like I think I just get like slightly more sleepy playing it after a while. It has maybe it's something to do with that like heavy the ridiculous music and that insane snare drum that just sort of eventually just sort of like goes like lulls me into the same effect as like riding on a steam train. You know, I'm just falling asleep, just going. Hey, I thought of something else I did play this
oh yeah
in the last couple of weeks. I had a run on Jumping Flash 2.
Okay.
Oh,
so that's a PlayStation 1 era game that probably wouldn't work at all in the modern era because it relies heavily on the fact that they hadn't mastered like first person controls back then, but that works to this game's benefit. Like,
oh, okay.
So it's like how even describe Jumping Flash? Right, so you play as a robot rabbit thing who like has basically has tank controls. You look left and right and move forward and back, rather than there's no like strafing or anything like that. It is like or like I guess car controls, I suppose, but you're like taking steps. But the big thing about how he controls is you press A to do a massive jump, and you can double jump twice in the air to do 2 more massive jumps. And when you do that, the camera pans down automatically to see your feet. So it's kind of an early example of a first-person 3D platformer, but you can also shoot. But that's not really. It's not really about the shooting. It's about the platforming, and like the levels play out as there are 4 moo-moos you need to find on the level. So get your way around the level, find the moo-moos, and then get to the exit pad. That's the game. Like it was a different time. That is the entirety of the game. It's quite fun. Like I think I got to like the last world on because it has lives still and things like that. I think I got to the last world before I ran out of lives. What a weird thing! Like you're trying to save the universe from a giant banana man, like called Captain Kabuki.
I never trusted Banana Man and Super Ted, so sure I could easily turn into a villain.
And he's like the campest character. Like I can like it's such a
Banana Man.
Yeah. So Jumping Flash too. It's always held like a little. I've always had a special place for Jumping Flash. I don't know why. Like maybe it's because it was one of the earliest PlayStation games I ever played. Like it was like an introduction to that console for me almost. But like, yeah, and I've still got a copy, so I broke it out and gave it a go. Played it pretty much most of an evening and had a good time.
Jumping Flash 2.
Big Trouble in Little Moo.
Little Moo. I've never seen Big Trouble in Little China. Have you?
No, neither have I.
No. Maybe we should watch that one time. I heard it's sort of good. Apparently, I think it's probably aged a lot. Whatever it is,
the best kind.
I think it might be problematic, but I'd be up for watching that.
Yeah, well, I'll watch it.
Yeah, let's watch that. Cool. Tell you what I watched last week that I'd never seen before. Mulholland Drive.
Oh,
have you seen that?
No,
the David Lynch film. Yeah, I watched it with Ho and David because David had seen it. And because I like Twin Peaks and stuff, so I was like, I'm probably gonna like this, but I heard it's weird, so we watched it and I loved it and Ho hated it. Yeah, because it's like there's tons of mystery elements in it that go nowhere and aren't resolved.
Oh man,
at all.
That would wind me up something wrong.
Yeah, I know, but it's part of the point that I think that's the case. But yeah, none of it makes any sense. But there's explicitly stuff that gets set up and then never happens or never goes anywhere.
Like when they like change out the character halfway through in the room. You know, it's like who's this
guy?
Yeah.
But it's deliberate. It's like that. Yeah, it's like there's literally bits which are like the room where it's like I definitely have breast cancer and then it never gets read again.
Yeah,
it's like that.
This?
But like, and then apparently, so I look back and like there's a story behind. It was filmed originally as a pilot for like a TV show, and the network absolutely hated the pilot and cancelled it immediately. And then he got funding to like go back and film more and turn it into a feature film. And yet, I don't know, he's some kind of genius. This David Lynch, I guess he's known for being a genius. He managed to parlay that weirdness into something, and I'm like, what? There's so many questions like after it, but my main question is, how long should I wait before I watch it again? Because it was pretty good.
Maybe a forever.
No, because like there's such a weird sort of twist in it that it's like I think you have to watch it twice.
Oh, is it one of those to be like, oh, okay, the twist may change you'd be looking for what it means.
Yeah, all the way from the start and stuff like that. It's not even a twist in the traditional sense of like, it doesn't make it make more sense. It makes less sense when it happens.
Right.
It's like an opposite. It's like an anti-twist.
So it's like the ending of most anime.
Yeah, it's anime-like, I would say. That's definitely Anyway, so Mulholland Drive. I will, because it might actually become one of my favorite films. I think I liked it that much. Yeah, but it's super freaking weird. But yeah, it's very David Lynch. So yeah, that's been my experiences.
Oh, I did finish. We finished watching She-Hulk.
Right.
Oh god,
scene where it's weird.
I mean, that nigga.
I abandoned
mental.
She-Hulk. I abandoned She-Hulk in the middle, so I don't know.
I ended up quite enjoying it. Like I quite, I liked it. Like the thing is the ending is kind of like, okay, it's meta as hell. That's not a spoiler, but it goes really off the rails to the point where it kind of renders a lot of the season nonsensical. Like
okay.
It definitely sort of does the Lynch thing in a weird way. Like it's like, wait, hang on, if all of what you've just done, then none of the series would have. What? Wait, hang on.
Yeah.
This makes no sense.
Yeah. Okay.
It does
a good way.
It does a bit. I mean, I enjoyed it. Like you have to just sort of take it as a, all right. I guess that's what you're doing now, kind of thing. But yeah, as a little show, I did enjoy my time of it. It was pretty good. I thought pretty good is perhaps too high. It was good.
Yeah,
just standard level good. I had a time.
Are you watching Mandalorian? That is also good.
Not yet. I've heard. I've heard some interesting reactions. I don't know anything about it, but I've just heard some. I
don't know if I said it before, but it's like it's very true to itself in that from the very beginning, Mandalorian has just felt like a video game to me, and it continues that. He's going on quests and side quests and fetch quests and talking to NPCs. It just makes me laugh the most. Yeah,
but as long as it's sort of returning to that and not getting too bogged down.
It is. Yeah,
and I think let's get hype. Let's get hype.
But there was a sequence, and I didn't in the last one, and I didn't realize. But you see how Grogu escaped from the Order 66 from the temple or whatever in Revenge of the Sith. And people have speculated that he was rescued by like Mace Windu or whatever, but instead he's rescued by this Jedi who I'd never come across before. So I had to look it up afterwards, and it's a cool sequence. But he's played by the guy who played Jar Jar.
Okay,
which is cool. Yeah,
that's weird.
Ahmed Best or whatever, which is well cool. Actually,
oh man, you want to hear about weird people playing roles that I didn't think they would play? Okay, so are you aware of Death in Paradise? That BBC crime, light-hearted crime drama, like set in San Marie.
No. Oh right, yeah, okay.
So they've done a spin-off of that show where they've taken one of the detectives. I think it was the I can't remember the actor's name, but he was in My Family as like the teenage guy, basically.
I know the guy.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's moved back to England, in Devon in particular. So they're like, let's have a crime drama in Devon with the similar style.
Why not?
So we'll actually do a carry on of this story. Fine, okay. So Noam and I have been kind of watching it because we kind of like Death in Paradise. So we're giving this a shot as well.
Sure.
And who turns up in episode 2 but Lard Armour?
Lard Armour.
Wow. Jamie Bamber himself.
He's British, right? Isn't he?
I mean, I don't know, honestly, but like, here Adama the Younger of Battlestar Galactica, yes.
Yeah, not Beard Armour, Lard Armour.
Yeah, exactly. He's in it. And I'm just like, I was sort of staring at him for ages, going like, because I saw his name come up in the opening sequence, and I didn't peg then who it was. It's just like, that's a familiar name. Like, what's that? And then he came on screen for a scene or two, and I'm like, That's a familiar looking face, but I can't quite.
I think it's just weird.
But he's so
like,
posh British in this compared to what he was in Battlestar that I just couldn't. I just didn't make the connection. And then like halfway through the episode or whatever, he comes on screen again, and I have like an aneurysm.
As Ross played his want to do recently, apparently.
Yeah.
It does, and I'm like just freaking out, like just going, oh my god! I'm just like, and Noam's like, what have you just like? What's happening? What's it like? Is something wrong? And I'm like, no, it's La Dama. Just sort of shouts it.
Wow. I mean, that is weird that Starbuck is in The Mandalorian and Apollo is in Death in Paradise.
What is it? Beyond Paradise, I think.
Or Beyond Paradise, whatever. Yeah, that's quite a weird contrast. Yeah, that's a weird one.
That's a weird one,
sure.
Yeah.
Is he in like Band of Brothers or something? No, I don't think. What else is he in? I don't think.
I have
not
no
that much
idea.
else, right? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, that was a weird moment for me. It's like, wow, here's like a 20-year callback that I didn't think I would have.
I've been thinking about Battlestar a lot recently. More, it was a good show.
That was rad. Yeah.
Yeah, it was well rad. Apart from it fell apart because of the writers' strike and it was all went to shit.
Hey, did you hear there's probably going to be another one of those?
No. What?
I mean, I heard it the other day.
Oh, strike.
Yeah.
Oh,
another writer's strike is on the cards.
Man, that was bad when that happened. It really screwed up a lot of shows at the time.
Yep.
And films. Like it screwed up Quantum of Solace.
Oh boy, did
if you want to know. Yeah, if you want to know why that film is that way, it's because there were no writers.
Yeah. So there's a chance that might happen again. The industry is worried.
We shall see. Anyway, I think that might do it for a podcast this week.
How about that?
How about it? I think we wrap that one up. We had some plans, which you heard earlier, for more videos, but our current... when are we going to get the next entry?
I might just post it up anyway, but put it in the rough cuts category. Like,
I think you might be able to get away with just like cutting out the bit that was fucked up and just putting like imagine buildings happening or something.
Yeah, I mean, I need to. I haven't looked at it properly yet, but I've been thinking about it, and it's like, I mean, I'll either edit a whole bunch of stuff out of it that didn't capture properly. It's Monopoly Tycoon.
Yeah,
spoilers. Like, we
so,
played a weird old game and it didn't capture right. So I might be able to cut some, but it's kind of at the crucial part, I think, where you're explaining how the game.
Well, that's
works.
what I'm saying. Why you should cut the video but keep the voices, but then you'll need to put something there.
No, like I'd keep the video there, and what I might do is just like preamble it and be like say like, hey, there are bits of this that didn't capture right. Weird old games, huh? And we'll put it up anyway, because in classic Happy Salad style, we could have done another take. It's not one of our longer videos, but hey, we've done it the once, and it's like then you lose the
newness of oldness.
The spontaneity
Freshness
is gone.
Yeah, indeed.
So maybe you should just feed that video file to an AI and have it temporarily anti-alias some extra frames in there.
Oh, that would be so weird. Yeah,
it's going to hallucinate Monopoly Tycoon features.
I don't even know how you do that. Like, how would I go about setting that up? But like, I need to just email Corridor Digital and like, hey, can
fix this video for me?
Can you animate this Monopoly Tycoon for me? Like.
So potentially look out for that rough cut. That would be enjoyable. But otherwise, there's plenty of other videos on the channel. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with another one of these here Saladcasts. So catch you then. Woo. Bye.